fun. And I also think that this is, while it's a very serious movie, there's a lot of comedic elements in it, which I thought was really cool. So let's talk about some of our favorite characters. Well, who is your fave character? I can't remember her name.
It's
the one that Zendaya plays. I honestly cannot remember her name either, but it was like Desert Spring was like her, one of her names, which foreshadows a moment in the movie that we'll talk about later. But yeah, Desert Spring. We'll call her Desert Spring or Zendaya. That works. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I just loved her. I thought that she was really honest. Like, she was able to see, we'll get more into that in like the spoilers section, but I thought that she like expressed what she was feeling, and she didn't sugarcoat things, and she kept it very like real. And yeah, I just really liked that about her character.
All right. Well, Sarah, do you have anything else to say about the Dune movie?
Oh my gosh.
Wrap us up.
Just that it's definitely worth the watch, even if you're not a science fiction person. Personally, I always have a hard time, as you could probably tell, like following more science fiction-y, like complex storylines, but I really loved it. I thought it was such a good story. It was beautiful visually, and yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, it's a long movie, but it's worth all the time. Get in there, go to the theaters, watch it. I believe it's just in theaters right now, but should come out soon, I'm sure. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to our CCS Cinema Club podcast, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Yolanda. I've been a bus driver with Columbus City Schools for 15 years. I love it. It's flexible. I was a single mom with 4 kids, and I needed the flexibility and the hours. So being able to work a split shift was awesome. Making sure that you make contact with each kid every day, it changes them, changes me. Columbus City Schools brought a lot to my life. I believe I'm a family. We're a family. I really enjoy what I do. And it's not just about the kids. You have teachers, you have employees, and they all contribute to what we do best here, and that's educate. Actually taught me how to drive, taught me directions, north side, east side, west side. I didn't know where I was going when I first started. Now I know everywhere, the whole Columbus. Tuition reimbursement, I was able to go to school. Come join us. Apply now at ccsjobs.org.
today we went to all of the feeder schools, so all of the elementary schools and 2 of the middle schools that feed into West, and we did a clap out with their kindergartners and 5th graders.
The walk was really fun. My favorite part was seeing all the little kids and seeing how happy they were and knowing that they're going to be here one day with us. Showing students that they can graduate one day as long as you stay on track with everything that you need to and you just stay focused on the stuff that you want, then you can really do it.
With such an exciting event today, it's so great to see our kids that we haven't seen since they were in elementary school. I was lucky enough to be their teacher for 2nd and 3rd grade, so it was really special to see this group come through.
Just great opportunity to celebrate, and it's important because it builds the connection. And I think that's something we really need on the West Side, is to build a connection between our elementary, middle school, and high school students.
We always talk to the kids about what happens after elementary school, but an event like today shows them where they can be in the next few years. I think it just shows them how all of their hard work can pay off as well in the future.
My name is Lolita Vaughn, and I am a special ed instructional assistant for Columbus City Schools. I have been employed with the district for 11 plus years now. I chose to work for Columbus City School because I like helping children and families. Coming from a background of being a home child care provider for 12 years, it just fit.
They see themselves when they look at me. Most of our students, are African American, and there's not a lot of males in education. Me being in that role, pre-K teacher, being one of the first teachers that they see, I know I affect change. They see it, they see a positive role model, they see a positive male, positive figure in their life.
This past graduation class was my first class of 6th graders. So they graduated last year, and one of the area high schools has a really cool tradition where they ask their former teachers to come back and give their diploma, and I was the only middle school teacher there for this particular student, and so I got to hand her a diploma, and that was probably the most memorable experience.
The district has actually provided me a lot of tools and resources. I have the latest technology currently in my classroom with the Clever Touch board. I also have the ability to get my master's degree through Columbus City Schools and take additional classes for my coursework for absolutely free and incorporate it into my teacher schedule.
I chose to work in the district because I grew up in the inner city school, and I met a school nurse that was a nurse of color, and I wanted to be in a school district that had more students that were minority so they could see that they could succeed in whatever field they chose to be in.
They have continuous trainings and workshops that we can do at our pace online through Public School Works. They also have a no-cost out-of-pocket college tuition that we can go to school to obtain our degree.
Everybody is cheering for everybody. Everybody is rooting for everybody. Everybody has one goal, and that's to educate our students. Everything focuses around our students, and that's the biggest thing. That's why I'm in Columbus. That's why I wouldn't leave Columbus. There's a lot of room for growth. You're going to continue to learn. You're going to meet so many people. You're going to connect with people. If you desire to be an administrator, you can go that route. If you desire to be in a TOSA position, a teacher on special assignment, you can go that route. You're going to grow.
You get a lot of different diverse pockets in Columbus, and I think it says a lot with the district as well. Whatever community you find yourself teaching in, you are impacting a certain community. I find myself in the east side impacting a certain, and I know friends in the north and the west side that are doing different work with different populations of students that it's really rewarding.
If you love working with students and family from all walks of life, then come join our team. The opportunity to be a part of a great team is here. I cannot say enough about friendships that I have made with so many amazing people. My family has grown and I love it. I can't wait to meet you, and welcome to our team.
I woke in a blaze of lightning. I felt the fear inside me. When I was younger, I could handle the night. I need a reason to undermine my restless mind. If I could only stop the passage of time. Find friends when you go out drifting over the Pleiades. It's just a silhouette of a dream. I lost some things that matter. The year had left me shattered. No matter how hard I try, I can't shake the pain. I tried to give up under the mezzanine. You held my hand in the end, but you wouldn't let me. Do you miss me when you go out drifting?
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. The Columbus City Schools community came together to support one another in a big way before Thanksgiving. On Saturday, November 22nd, I joined staff, community partners, and NBC4 at the Fort Hays campus to distribute 1,800 turkeys to families in need. Thank you to everyone who donated or came out in the cold to help others celebrate this holiday. Another chance to give back to Columbus is the Stuff the Bus Christmas Drive happening now in schools and offices across the district. In partnership with our classified staff and NBC4, drop off new unwrapped toys for children 12 and under in the provided boxes to bring some warmth to a family this winter. Toys will be distributed on Saturday, December 13th. We know that strong schools are the foundation of vibrant communities, and businesses play a crucial role in fulfilling this mission. On Tuesday, November 18th, I proudly led a panel discussion with the Columbus Chamber of Commerce to discuss how education and industry can work together to transform the region's workforce. As part of the Chamber's Inclusion Series, the panel featured a few of the district's most innovative partnerships: equine therapy with Dreams on Horseback, skilled trades with the City of Columbus Department of Building and Zoning Services, and whole child supports with Robert Weiler Company. Together, we shared the tools that lead to successful partnerships and mutually beneficial outcomes for all. On Saturday, November 15th, the district partnered with TechCore Columbus to host the 7th annual TechCore Hackathon. Afrocentric Early College opened its doors to serve as home base and welcomed over 200 students, many new to technology, who spent the day learning how to code, problem solve, innovate, and compete. Students from several Columbus City high schools joined their peers from neighboring school districts. They worked in teams using real-world development software to design and prototype mobile apps that address real community challenges with guidance from industry mentors and university professors. The teams presented their projects to a panel of judges, showcasing creativity, teamwork, and solutions to make the difference in the community. Their work proves that the next generation of tech leaders are grown right here in Central Ohio. Pathway Express is heading to its next stop on Saturday, December 13th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're inviting all CCS students and their families to join us at the historic Lincoln Theater for a day of learning, creativity, and fun, completely free of charge. The Lincoln Theater, built in 1928, is a landmark of African American culture and jazz history. And during this special event, your family will be able to explore the arts in hands-on and meaningful ways. Here's what you can look forward to: trying out improv acting and building communication skills, exploring storytelling through movement and music, getting hands-on with theater lights and sound, learning about careers in the arts, discovering Columbus history inside this iconic venue, and meeting award-winning author Christopher Paul Curtis. It's a wonderful chance for families to connect, create, and learn together. And again, everything is absolutely free, including parking. For more information or to register, just visit our website. We can't wait to see you at the Lincoln Theater on Saturday, December 13th. These have been your highlights from around the district for December 2nd. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, all, and welcome to this evening's Columbus City School Board of Education regular board business meeting. Mr. Treasurer, can we call the roll?
Ms. Ingalls.
Here.
Dr. Pierce.
Present.
Ms. Reyes.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
Ms. Vera.
Here.
Vice President Adair.
Present.
President Cole.
I am here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, can we rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So before we approve tonight's agenda, let me give a brief overview. Of course, we'll begin with public comment. That will be in Section 3. Then we'll walk into board matters. And through board matters is comprised of 10 resolutions that extend from 4.1 to 4.11. We'll then go into sections 5.1 to 7.1 that deal with executive level reports from our direct reports. And then we'll move into sections 8.1 to 24.4. That will be our consent agenda. And then we will not have executive session this evening and subsequently adjourn. This is our board agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Motioned and seconded. Call the roll.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes. All right. Thank you all. Let's get started by welcoming our guests this evening. We'll get right into our first series of public speakers. That is Leah Kia. I'm sorry about that. Leah Keene, forgive me. Welcome this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Chapman, Board President Cole, and members of the board. My name is Leah Keene, and I am a counselor at Walnut Ridge High School. Tonight, I speak on behalf of the school counselors of this district. We are the only professionals in schools whose job is to support students' academic growth, social emotional development, and career and college readiness, every student, every grade, every tier. Our district is considering cuts that would eliminate school counselor positions. I want to be very clear about the impact of that decision. When counselors are cut, academic progress declines. Research from multiple national studies shows that increasing counselor to student caseload ratios results in lower reading and math achievement, higher failure rates, fewer students reaching graduation benchmarks, and significant increases in discipline incidents. One study showed that school counselors helped to reduce misbehaviors by 20 to 30% and improved academic achievement significantly, more than reducing class size and adding additional teachers. Counselors are not extra. We are essential to meeting your 3 board goals: 3rd grade reading proficiency, 7th grade math proficiency, graduation rates. These goals are fundamentally human development goals, and counselors are one of the only few staff trained to address those barriers that makes learning impossible: trauma, attendance issues, anxiety, family instability, behavior concerns, and unmet mental health needs. Last year alone, counselors provided support in submitting 12,419 classroom lessons, 5,300 small group sessions, 127,000 individual student contacts, 3,400 referrals to community agencies, 12,000 high school course plans, and 6,000 college applications. Cutting counselors means fewer adults trained to recognize suicide warning signs, fewer interventions before minor issues become crises, fewer students receiving academic planning and credit checks, fewer families receiving attendance support, more unresolved behavior issues in classrooms, increased burden on principals, teachers, nurses, social workers, and police, and ultimately reduced academic performance district-wide. If we remove counselors, we do not remove the needs. We simply remove the people who are trained to meet them. Your board goals require improving outcomes by 10 percentage points or more by 2028. Meeting those goals without adequate counselor staffing is not possible. We ask you to consider the cost of cutting counselors, not just in dollars, but in student risk, school safety, academic performance, and the mental health of our children. Counselors keep students learning, they keep them safe, and they keep them on the path to graduation. Cuts to counselors are cuts to safety, cuts to academic achievement, and cuts to the future of this district. We urge you to protect these positions. Our students cannot afford this loss.
Welcome this evening. Once you begin, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, President Cole, Vice President Adair, current and future board members, Superintendent Dr. Chapman and staff. I would also like to welcome our community. If you could stand with me in solidarity while I speak, I would appreciate it. Tonight, you will hear from a variety of voices. There will be emotion. There will be frustration and anger. But most of all, you will hear passion. I hope you go beyond hearing us, but listen, absorb, and act. As you take on this difficult decision, and it is a difficult decision, I implore you to think about why you joined to run for a position on this board. Was it so that you could help steer this district to greatness? Was this a stepping stone for something greater for you? Was it for personal reasons? I don't ask that you address these questions aloud. This is a time of self-reflection, and I do hope you reflect. I hope you reflect on your motivations to be stewards of district policy. The community voted you because we believed in you to not only handle this district in a way that was prudently, both financially and educationally, but we voted you in to handle these difficult decisions. We should be the district that is the model for public education. After all, we have produced great alumni that have affected not just their community, the city, the state, the nation, and yes, the world. For over 100 years, we have fought budget concerns. We have fought lack of funding. We will continue this fight, but we need to do it in a way that is intentional. Transparency and communication are lacking, and they feel performative. Mismanagement of funding, failure to listen to committee and task force recommendations, failure to execute the facilities master plan, failure to act in a timely manner, failure to equitably resource our own schools. This failure to also take on legislation that is not only harmful to our students, but is a gross deprivation of rights. I hope you do the right thing and delay this vote today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Madeline Youngman. Welcome, Ms. Youngman. You have 3 minutes once you begin.
All right. Okay. Good evening, President Cole, Vice President Adair, Treasurer Cook, Superintendent Dr. Chapman, and members of the board. My name is Beth. I am a parent at Avondale Elementary, and this is Maddie. And she has prepared something to share that I will read for you today. Maddie, can I tell them how old you are and what grade you go? Maddie is 7 and a second grader at Avondale. She says, I don't get why they don't like us in our school. There are lots of kids. This is just stupid. Why can't they just ask more people to go to Avondale? Because it's a great school. They are not allowed to kick us out of our school. I love the teachers there. I have lots of friends there. I really like it there. I don't want to go to a new school. No. Can my parents get me back into Avondale if you send us to other schools? This is very mean. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joanne Orozco. Welcome this evening, Ms. Orozco.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes once you begin.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Chapman. My name is Joanna, and I'm proud to be one of the 71 school social workers working in Columbus City Schools. I'm currently serving at West High School. When I was hired, our department had fewer than 30 social workers, serving more than 100 buildings. That meant most of us were responsible for multiple buildings. I was assigned to 5, spread across different sides of Columbus. And as many of you know, each part of our city has its own unique identity, challenges, and strengths. But that is exactly where school social workers shine. We are trained to support people from in utero to the end of their life. We are trained to work with diverse communities. We excel in crisis, and we adapt to discomfort. What makes our department especially extraordinary is the depth of expertise that we have within our department. We have school social workers that have backgrounds all across the spectrum of social work: child welfare, clinical practice, foster care, medical social work, domestic violence, substance abuse treatment, hospice, juvenile justice, community and advocacy, and so much more. This collective knowledge exists within this department alone, and it is an incredible asset. Within our department, you will also find PBIS coordinators, MTSS coordinators, 504 coordinators, social workers serving on building leadership teams. We run suicide prevention programming and facilitate groups like ROCKS and Grief Support. Our department completes the vast majority of home visits that's completed for this district. Within the first month of school, our team completed hundreds of home visits. We are out in the community linking families to resources and to remove the non-academic barriers to keep students thriving. Our work spans on all 3 tiers of intervention, ensuring that every student receives the individual support that they need. We also work with unaccompanied youth. These are students living without custodial parents or even on their own. Our role is to make sure these students remain cared for, connected to school, and graduate. We have stood in food pantry lines so students wouldn't have to miss school to eat. We have advocated with our city council members to ensure that they receive essential benefits, and we stood beside them in court. We support them through housing emergencies and mental health emergencies. We do whatever it takes to remove barriers that gets in the way of their education. This is the work of school social workers. This is the commitment we bring to Columbus City Schools every day. This is the impact that we are honored to make. I live in this district, I serve this district, and my children attend this district. This is my community, my home, and I am fully invested in the success of every student, every family, and every school in Columbus City Schools. My hope is that the district not only sees the value of our department, but continues to strengthen it, invest in it, and protect in it. Because when school social workers are supported, our students are supported, and when our students thrive, the entire district thrives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Corey Fry. Good evening, sir. Once you begin, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Dr. Chapman and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about the role of our elementary school counselors tonight. My name is Corey Fry, and I've been the school counselor at Avondale Elementary School since 2014. I have worked for the Columbus City Schools since 2005, and I am also a former CCS student. When I became a school counselor, I planned to work in high school. However, with no high school positions, I was placed at Avondale, where I assumed that I would leave as quickly as possible to return to the high school level. After one day at Avondale, I knew that I would accept that my vocational life plans had changed. I was now an elementary school counselor. Elementary school counselors understand that early intervention is the best intervention. We may be the first adults in a young child's life to help them learn how to understand emotions, solve conflicts, and use coping skills. We help them feel safe at school, motivate them to keep coming back, and build the foundation for success to come. We are also fanatical about data, as you've already heard once tonight, harnessing and utilizing empirical outcomes to drive our best practices. I would like to share some numbers with you from last school year, when our 77 elementary school counselors accomplished the following. We delivered 9,193 classroom lessons at the Tier 1 level. We ran 4,417 small group sessions with 548 small groups at the Tier 2 level. We completed 381 suicidal risk assessments and 42 homicidal risk assessments. We made 2,034 referrals to outside agencies for Tier 3 individualized counseling and therapy. We assisted with the creation of 3,817 attendance plans for frequently absent students. And finally, we had 52,780 individual one-on-one student sessions. These numbers reflect not just activity, but crises averted, lives impacted, and futures strengthened. We illuminate and expand their world with career days, field trips, and community collaboration. We organize, monitor, and implement interventions as building MTSS coordinators. As PBIS coordinators, we plan positive rewards to fuel attendance, behavior, and academic growth. Research shows that elementary school counselors increase achievement, particularly for boys, and reduce misbehavior by more than 20%. We also provide an academic return on investment higher than other common interventions. The financial cost of losing school counselors is far greater than any short-term savings. According to a report from the state of Colorado in the year 2022, that state spent $16 million to retain school counselors, an investment that saved them over $300 million in social safety net services. This amounts to a savings of $20 for every $1 spent on keeping school counselors. Ultimately, though, we are the ones who recognize humanity in our students. The school counselor is not optional, and we are not every other day. We are the connective tissue of the school, the vital organ at the center of climate, culture, and achievement. We respectfully ask that you protect our positions. The financial return is enormous, but the academic, social, emotional, and human outcomes are larger, making the school counselor the strongest investment this district can make. We recognize the difficulty of decisions about positions, but our purpose tonight is not to claim that one role is more important than another, but to ensure you understand the vital work that elementary school counselors perform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Our next speaker is Nicole Sori. Welcome this evening. When you begin, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, President Cole, Vice President Adair, Treasurer Cook, Superintendent Dr. Chapman, and board members for your time today. I'm Nicole Soriche. This is my son, Miles. Sorry, I gotta take my gum out. He is a second grader at Avondale Elementary in Franklinton, and he's been there for 4 years now. I am here to urge the Board of Education to seriously find a creative solution to keep Avondale Elementary open rather than close due to capacity concerns of missing our mark by 1%, especially since we got little to no notice for staff members and parents, literally. So this is why I think we should keep Avondale open, more from a heart space. From the first day, our children are energetically, warmly welcomed back to school, partnered with the nationwide hockey team, mid-year musicals, math night, to events like muffins with moms or donuts with dad, to the very end of the year graduations. Avondale gives our kids educational growth, but also real personal care on emotional and mental level. Anything that our students or parents or guardians need. And I'm talking food, clothes, shelter. We see our principal, who's standing in right now, Angela Martin, teachers that are here tonight, our counselor who just spoke, Mr. Fry. This level of care goes beyond the walls of this school. That warmth and community goes to us parents and different subcultures of parents who stay connected concerns with birthdays, clothing swaps. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine brought over his daughter's bag of clothes for my daughter. I have a daughter as well. To 4th of July, to kids coming to our school to sit on our porch after school, okay? Or in the summertime. Not only that, on a personal note, which I wasn't going to speak, but I'm going to bring it up, my daughter graduated from the school from deaf at 3. She's 6 now at Huey with speech focus, with sign language backup. And next year would be her first year attending school with her brother because she's grown out of it to be mainstream, and I couldn't think of a better place to bring her. And on a deeply personal note, I live across the street, so I get to see the energy if I pop in once in a while and see the teachers out there playing with our kids, the events that they have, our neighbors watching them. So my call to action, and to recap, is Avondale might be small, our community might be small, there might be all those buildings that are being built right now, but we are mighty. I asked the board of Avondale, board of tonight, and along with the Avondale team members, to collaborate to launch any type of marketing they can do to attract more families to come, or to bring schools and integrate them into our school. That school has been there for a very long time. So please, let's ensure that Avondale thrives for years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Soriche. Our next speaker is Kimberly Mopin. Good evening, Ms. Mopin.
Good evening. Maupin.
Maupin,
Yep.
thank you. I'm so used to French pronunciation, Maupin. Forgive me.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Chapman. My name is Kim Maupin. I'm the senior faculty representative for building substitutes and also the current building substitute at Avondale Elementary. In 2019, I retired after 32 successful years of teaching in Columbus and returned to be a full-time building substitute. I'm also a CCS graduate. I'm speaking on building substitutes being on the list of staff cuts this evening. There's so many reasons that it's imperative to have a full-time building substitute at every building. Consistency is key. The trust and rapport built with students, staff, families, and community members promote a positive, productive learning environment. High-quality instruction. Our subs have had professional development and experience in using all aspects of the curriculum. In the absence of their teacher, the students remain on their path to high achievement instead of sitting for hours working on meaningless busy work. Student safety. Not only are our subs aware of the individual needs of our students academically, but also behaviorally, emotionally, and medically. Reduce the burden on the classroom teachers. Teachers come to school prepared for their day, only to find out classes are being split. They'll get extra kids due to no substitute being available. There will not be enough space or supplies or materials that day. There will not be any small group or interventions individually that day. Students on IEPs will not receive services that day, unfortunately. Guaranteed seamless class coverage. Our subs know the routines, the expectations, and policies, making for smooth transitions and minimal disruption in student learning. They have stepped up on short notice for long-term coverages as well as year-long vacancies, taking on all of the responsibilities of planning, grading, and testing. This allows our schools to maintain the education of our students, even in the midst of a national teacher shortage. Which brings me to our Pathway to Licensure program. Fortunately, many of our subs have completed or are in the process of completing their alternative licensure requirements and have dedicated themselves to becoming a full-time teacher in Columbus City Schools. I'm asking you this evening to reconsider putting our invaluable building substitutes on the staff reductions list. It would be devastating to the Columbus City School students. Thank you. And please keep Avondale as a community building. It's amazing there.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Deborah Skline. I hope I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize.
It's Devorah Schlein.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Chapman and members of the board. My name is Devorah Schlein, and I am one of 71 school social workers proudly serving Columbus City Schools. I am here today to speak to the critical importance and profound impact school social workers have on our district every single day. School social workers are the only licensed mental health professionals employed directly by our schools. Our presence is not just beneficial, it's measurable. Research that included Columbus City Schools shows a clear positive correlation between the number of school social workers and increased high school graduation rates. When students have access to a school social worker, they're more likely to walk across that stage, diploma in hand. Why is that? Because our work extends far beyond school walls. We build strong, trusting relationships not only with students, but with their families. Each year, my colleagues and I complete numerous home visits to identify and address barriers that make school attendance difficult. We meet families where they are, literally and figuratively, so their children can come to school ready to learn. We are uniquely trained to meet the mental health needs of our students. Every year, we support students struggling with anxiety, depression, trauma, and overwhelming stress. We help them find their voice, talk to their families about what they are facing, and connect them with community resources and ongoing counseling. In the most serious situations, we have walked families step by step through the process of hospitalization to ensure a child receives the critical care they need. This is life-changing and sometimes life-saving work. When SNAP benefits were cut this year, school social workers immediately stepped up. We organized emergency food pantries. I did in my building because families were calling with urgent needs and no transportation to reach existing resources. This is what school social workers do. When circumstances change, we respond quickly, compassionately, and effectively. School social workers are an essential part of Columbus City Schools community, and Columbus voters agree. The levy passed in 2023 not only preserved existing school social worker positions, but also funded additional ones. As the Columbus City Schools website proudly states, our promises made, our promises kept. This is a commitment that must continue. School social workers serve as the critical bridge connecting home, school, and the broader community, helping to build strong, stable, and supportive networks for our students. Tonight, I urge you to protect and preserve all 71 school social worker positions, not just for this year, but for many years to come. Our students deserve meaningful access to mental health support. Our families deserve dedicated advocates. Our schools deserve professionals committed to breaking down barriers so that every child can succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schlein. Our next speaker is Cameron McCann. Good evening, Cameron. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening to the board, the attendees tonight, and all those watching remotely. Thank you for giving me the time to speak today. My name is Cameron McCann, and I am a building sub at Highland Elementary School. I am here tonight to implore the board to maintain an adequate level of staffing for the building substitute program. While I understand that our district's finances are significantly impacted by the actions of our state legislature and that the current situation is dire, the families of thousands of students and educators are counting on you to protect our staff's livelihoods. Our current building substitutes have spent years serving our children and supporting our district's mission of producing students who are highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as citizens in a global community. In the conversations I've had with my colleagues, either through organizing our unit or attending district professional development days, I have witnessed firsthand our building substitutes' commitment. These are dedicated, experienced educators who support our students' learning in a variety of ways. In my own building, when not providing coverage for absences, I work with our classroom teachers to support Tier 1 instruction or pull students for targeted Tier 2 interventions. I'm also part of our building's crisis team, which I view as a critically important step in providing an atmosphere where all of our students feel safe and ready to learn. What I'm trying to get at here is that what building substitutes provide this district is far more than coverage for absences. Some members of this board will have heard me say this many times in the past, but the real value of the building substitute program is in having people who are actually part of our school communities. We come to work to help our students grow as scholars and as people, and by being there every day, we are better able to understand and serve the needs of those students. Our district's mission is impossible without building these kinds of relationships. While I understand that the board has some hard but necessary choices ahead, you must remember that what we are talking about is much more than a line item in a budget. We are talking about real people with real lives. We're talking about educators and members of our community. Please do right by these people. Please make the right choice. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Our final speaker will be Corey Storms. Good evening, Ms. Storms. Welcome. You will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Board President Cole, Vice President Adair, and Dr. Chapman, and members of the board. I am Corey Storms, the school counselor at Ohio Avenue Elementary, and I've had the pleasure and privilege to have vocations serving young people all of my adult life, a total of 33 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak directly about the positive impact elementary school counselors have on our students and what will happen if the district eliminates or reduces our positions. We all recognize the reality and gravity of the financial situation for CCS. However, eliminating and or reducing our positions is a detrimental mistake. You will hinder the success of our students and our school district. We are valuable, not optional. We are the front line of school safety, early academic intervention, and behavioral prevention. School counselors provide a vital service and support our students. In essence, we help students navigate the school setting at all school levels, and as they are experiencing a plethora of circumstances outside of school that create barriers to their learning. Providing the necessary support and intervention to develop skills and knowledge is not a luxury, but a basic human need. It is an honor to be able to pour an abundance of love, skills into our students to help them flourish as productive, loving, caring, and healthy people that can contribute to our community and culture. Eliminating, reducing our positions will not provide equitable support for our students that deserve the same access to school counseling services and programs just like other students from other school districts. It would be a disservice and further disenfranchise our students since many come from marginalized groups. The research is clear, as my fellow colleague, Corey #1, shared. Eliminating school counselors results in higher misbehavior and suspension rates, lower reading scores, and fewer students ready for middle school. School counselors reduce misbehavior by up to 29% and significantly improve academic achievement. Here's some context to the positive impact of elementary school counselors from an elementary student. I was recently able to witness the impact of my role on students during 2 school-wide events for a select group of 24 4th and 5th grade students in my leadership program. The events focused on acts of kindness and how to make our school community better. One of the 4th grade students commented on the impact of my role at our school. He shared an act of kindness to me as part of our restorative practices connection circle, saying, "Thank you for making our school better." My response to him was, "I don't know how much better I make it, but I do my best." When I said that, I heard so many other students blurt out comments like, "You do, Miss Storms. You do make our school better. You really do." You see, elementary school counselors do matter. Even our students can see the value in what we do, and that should be enough evidence for all of you. We urge you to protect our positions. Our youngest, most vulnerable students are depending on you to do so. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Storms. That concludes our public speaking for the evening. Thank each and every one of you for coming tonight in advocacy of children and employees in the district. Your work and time is honored here. I did not want you to leave this evening at any point and not know that from each and every one of us here that place tremendous value and belief in not only the work that you do, but the potential that you inspire in the young people that you see every day. This is a part of our decision-making tonight. So just understand that, and again, I thank you deeply. With that, we will get into our board matters. I want to start with just a very brief comment. Before us tonight we have a myriad of things to discuss in board matters that address a number of issues financially, ultimately, a number of issues that impact our employees, our personnel space, and our non-personnel spaces. Tonight is not about any given particular position. It isn't. Any of you who've had the opportunity, including my colleagues, who've had the opportunity to look at our board work this evening as designed in our resolutions, each of these is based on a nominal amount. In our non-personnel and personnel space, this is all based on identifying what the bucket is and how much of that bucket has to be reduced. It's the same for the realignment process that we'll take in the additional 5 resolutions that will come to bear. We will be prepared to make a motion as well to suspend Policy 7105 so that we can actually continue that realignment work respectfully. And I want to definitely thank my board colleague, Mr. Simmons, for ensuring that we're working together to direct our work accordingly the right way. This is what, to answer that one question again, to demonstrate that one question I got in our board office hours earlier today, you know, do you have any out-of-the-box thinkers? Well, again, these are the folks that you see right here at the board table that are the first space of out-of-the-box thinking for Columbus City Schools. With that, let me go right into our very first resolution. And I would be remiss to say, and I think it was Mr. McCann who offered you stole my thunder. You talked about the impact of our decisions tonight on human beings. I want us all at this table, and I know that we're cognizant of it, but I want definitely us to demonstrate that cognizance. Let's demonstrate that we are putting people first in our empathy, with our language, with our tone, with the tenor of how we're making decisions and asking questions should we have them. We understand fully that these are decisions that not only may impact children, but also impact adults who show up every day to work for children. And that is not something that we give any degree of undermining to it all. And if we have in the past, and I don't believe we have, but if we have in the past, I apologize on behalf of the board for that. You are the folks who are the rubber that hits the road for kids every day. And we want to ensure that despite whatever decisions come before us tonight that we deliberate upon and subsequently vote up or down, that at the end of the day, you are actually honored, you are actually believed in, and you are actually valued in the process. And there's much work to be continued to that degree. With that in mind, let me start by saying, at the board's August 19, 2025 meeting, we directed the district administration to implement a budget reduction of $50 million starting in fiscal year 2027. We further directed the superintendent to provide us with a comprehensive list of recommended fiscal year 2027 reductions for consideration and adoption. At our meeting on November 18th, 2025, the superintendent and her team presented proposed ideas for possible budget reductions, including student transportation, non-personnel items such as purchase services, and finally, personnel. On the board's agenda tonight, we have a total of 6 resolutions related to each of these possible areas of reduction. The board will consider and vote on each of these individually. Importantly, the board's actions with respect to each specific resolution will add up and directly impact the total of certificated and classified personnel functions the superintendent will ultimately need to identify and recommend to the board at a latter meeting. And you'll likely find that out in an ongoing basis between January and March of next year, okay? You'll hear me call a question as we get through certain resolutions. Mr. Treasurer, you'll hear me call, what is the impact to our classified and certified personnel? We have the opportunity tonight, colleagues, to make the best decisions possible to limit the impact, the negative, adverse impact on our classified and certified personnel. We have the opportunity via these resolutions to do that. But I want you all to know that that is one of our major aims in mind. All right, we'll move right on to our first resolution. First
President
resolution.
Cole, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
A few minutes ago, you indicated that there would be a suspension of policy 7105. My question to our board and our parliamentarian is, do we need to make a formal vote to suspend that policy? We
Yes.
do. So at this point, do you have the motion, or would you like me to craft one?
No, I would like Board Member Simmons. We can do that now.
Yes.
We can
Thank
do that
you.
now.
Just
Board
want
Member
due
Simmons?
diligence.
Yes, thank you, President Cole. As a reminder, on October 16th, the joint committees comprised of the Academic and Facility Alignment Committee, ETRM, and the Policy and Governance Committee, they did meet and recommend to the Board of Education that we vote to rescind Policy 7105. That is the closure of school buildings policy that requires a task force to comprise a list of school buildings to be considered for closure. The process the district has chosen to use this time is a little bit different. It's more of a superintendent originated process, and so that's just a reminder of the back story here. But I will now make a motion. I will motion that the Board of Education suspend, or excuse me, I will motion that the Board of Education rescind I will motion that the Board of Education suspend policy 7105 to take action on the recommendations, and that is a motion.
Is it seconded?
Is there a date?
No, colleagues, the suspension would end at the beginning of our next board meeting, just per how our rules function.
Okay, so there is a date in mind. Do we have the date for
Yes.
that, please?
Dr. Pierce, that would be December 16th.
December 16th. So can you revise your motion to say until December 16th?
Sure. I will revise my motion to say that I motion the Board of Education suspend policy 7105 until the beginning of our regular board business meeting on December 16th at 6 p.m. At 6:30, excuse me.
Motioned and seconded. Mr. Treasurer, call the roll.
Yes.
I just have one quick
Yes,
comment.
ma'am.
So the policy is sitting in the academic AFAC committee, and so that policy is currently being worked on. The Policy and Governance Committee has recommended it on to one of our academic committees for review. And so while I will support the motion tonight, I am not in favor of this practice of this board of suspending that policy in particular, because we have worked so hard on it and are trying to make sure that that moves through committees. And because of the joint committee structure, the committee has not yet taken up the policy, but I would like to see that taken up as soon as possible, if not the beginning of next year.
And I think that's why it's so important that we added that date to clarify the date at which it was suspended, to acknowledge the great work that your committee's done.
Duly noted. Thank you. It has been motioned and seconded. Call the roll.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you all. All right. So our first resolution is resolution to direct the superintendent to identify administrator positions to be abolished. What I'd like to do is read that resolution, and this would be read as a motion. To direct the superintendent to identify administrative positions to be abolished, the estimated cost reduction being $6.6 million. Based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs the superintendent to 1, no later than January 31st, 2026, identify and recommend to the board up to 56 central office, non-school-based administrative positions and up to 4 school-based administrative positions for abolishment to be effective for the 2026-27 school year consistent with applicable law and board policy. Take such actions consistent with and as are reasonably necessary to carry out this resolution. This is a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Call the roll.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion passes. All right. Thank you for that initial work. Again, this is a board that has demonstrated its due diligence and committed attention to the concerns and values of the community, that said that we need to look at our highest spaces of office administration and be required to make some cuts, to make those reductions. And we have taken that first step with $6.6 million. All right, we'll move on to our second resolution. Resolution 4.3 is to direct the superintendent to implement reductions in non-personnel general fund expenditures. I will read this resolution as a motion. To direct the superintendent to implement reductions in non-personnel general fund expenditures. Estimated cost reduction, $8.8 million. Based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs superintendent to implement reductions in non-personnel general fund expenditures to constitute a cost reduction of at least $8.8 million to be effective no later than the beginning of the 26-27 school year or at such later date as may be required by any underlying contract. Because this, again, is dealing in non-personnel, this is largely dealing with contracts and those relationships that we have in those spaces. Number two is take such other actions consistent with and as are reasonable necessary to carry out this resolution. This
Second.
is a motion.
Second.
It is motion and seconded. Call the roll.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion passes. All right. Now, we're going to approach resolutions 4.4 and 4.5 in a bit of a joint kind of way. The way that I'm really asking us to take a look at this is as a series of two options. Option 4.4 being its own option as a resolution, and option 4.5 being its own option as a resolution. Option 4.4, just for general context, option 4.4 actually is a reduction that will require the superintendent, the Board of Education, to go to state minimum with regards to 9th through 12th grade transportation. That will be the elimination, this represents the elimination of transportation for 9th through 12th grade students. What this also is asking in the language, and I'm happy to read it if anyone would like me to. What's also happening in this particular resolution 4.4 is the superintendent, we are directing the superintendent and the future board president or the president's designee to convene a work group comprised of CODA and other stakeholders to identify reasonable means and methods by which to transport students and create some additional options for students in mass transportation. So again, 4.4 is the elimination of transportation, traditional or non, for Columbus City School students in grades 9 through 12. Say it again. Thank you for that. In school year, and both of these resolutions have a couple things in common. The first is the year of actual implementation. The school year of implementation will be school year 27-28. So the actual implementation of either of these policies, if we choose one, one negates the other. I need you to understand that as well. If we chose 4.4, we've chosen 4.4 and we've eliminated transportation. If we choose 4.5, which I'll describe in brevity in just a moment, but as clearly as I can, then we've made that choice for 4.5, and it negates 4.4. It takes it totally off the table. Does everyone understand that?
Yes,
Okay.
are you going to read the resolution?
Just give me a moment, please. Again, I want to reiterate that these don't begin until 27-28 school year. That is August 2027 through the school year 2028 and subsequent. That means that transportation for high school students will take place, will continue full freight as they have for school year 2026-2027. That will go undisrupted. I needed everybody to understand that, okay? All right. Resolution 4.5 is different and distinct in that it will continue transportation for grades 9 through 12. It will look to continue that, but it will not do it in the traditional yellow bus sense. What this resolution offers is the district affording the cost through mass transportation in a way that we're actually doing right now. So by means of mass transportation through CODA, we would continue 9th through 12th transportation by affording bus passes for students. What we don't know the full number on at this point in time is how much that would cost for charter non-public students. Because as per state law, we actually have to incorporate that body of students as well. So that represents a particular reduced amount of somewhere in the over $4 million, but I'll read that just momentarily. All right. And again, it also includes that work group requirement on the part of the administration and the board to convene in partnership to find viable solutions for transportation for students. You'll hear me say it at the table live here. If an entity wants to represent what is best for students, what is best for a customer, that is a group of students in the district, as the professional go-to space for transportation, make this your line of business. If you want to incorporate this, make it your line of business. There are not a lot of bus riders in this city. Most of the city drives. That means there's a unique and rich, incredible opportunity to accommodate Columbus City School 9th through 12th grade students in a way that's safe, in a way that could be uniquely designed to them. Make this your line of business. Let's do that together. All right, let me start with 4.4 resolution. 4.4 reads, to reduce student transportation to state minimum requirements, effective for the school year 2027 through 2028 school year, the district will reduce transportation for students in grades 9 through 12 to state minimum requirements consistent with applicable law. The district shall otherwise provide student transportation services to the extent required by law. Number 2, the superintendent is directed to develop and implement a student transportation plan for the 2027-2028 school year consistent with and take such other actions as are reasonably necessary to carry out this resolution. 3, the superintendent is directed to establish a work group in consultation with the board president or designee with the Central Ohio Transit Authority, the City of Columbus, and or other relevant stakeholders to work collaboratively to explore mass transit options for students in grades 9 through 12 who would otherwise be eligible for transportation by the district in accordance with applicable law, and to make recommendations to the board no later than January 31st, 2027. All right? That is the first motion. Let me go back to 4.5 and read that. And I'm offering them both as, I'm offering one at a time for consideration. I'm offering one at a time for consideration, but I'm uplifting them both side by side so that we all understand what it is that we're doing here. Okay, so 4.5 is to reduce student transportation to state minimum requirements and provide mass transportation passes for students in grades 9 through 12. Estimated cost reduction here is $4.8 million. So the first is over $7 million. This one is just slightly under $5 million in savings, in reduction. Effective for 27-28 school year, the district will not provide traditional school bus transportation for students in grades 9 through 12 except as otherwise required by applicable law. In lieu of traditional school bus transportation, the district shall provide cost-effective mass transit options through the Central Ohio Transit Authority or other providers for all students in grades 9 through 12 who would otherwise be eligible for transportation by the district in accordance with applicable law. The district shall otherwise provide student transportation services to the extent required by law. And then Clause 2 is the superintendent is directed to establish a work group in consultation with the board president or designee with CODA, the City of Columbus, and any other relevant stakeholder to work collaboratively together to develop an implementation plan for the 27-28 school year for the consideration and approval of the board no later than January 31st, 2027. Colleagues.
Mr. President, I would like to go ahead and offer the resolution that is part of item 4.4 and make a motion that be the one that we consider to reduce student transportation to state minimum requirements with the estimated cost reduction of $7.2 million.
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded. At this point in time, option 4.4 is on the table. I'll open the floor for discussion. Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, President Cole. If one of our colleagues may like to go before me, that would be okay. It will take me just one more moment, please. Okay, I guess I had my moment. Thank you. This is the resolution 4.4 to go to state minimums. And I wanted to ask Dr. Chapman, how did we end up in a space looking at the 27 to 2028 school year? I think a couple months ago when we first began the transportation conversation, we were looking at the 2026 to 2027 school year, right?
That's correct, Board Member Simmons. So we have been listening to our community, and based on feedback from our community, the feedback from the surveys, we heard very loud and clear that our community wanted to hear about the plan and the logistics related to how our Regional Transportation Authority will be able to provide supportive measures to ensure that our students are able to get to school each day. And so this modification of the resolution allows for planning time for us to work collaboratively together, not only with CODA, but also with our city, because we recognize that when we think about the transportation needs of our students, it involves safety, it involves sidewalks, it involves lighting, it involves transportation. And so this allows us time to make those connections, to do that planning work, and then that work group can then bring those recommendations and that plan back to the board for consideration, and we can move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. And then so in that time period from, say, today, if the board were to approve the motion to January 31st, what type of transportation would our 9 through 12 students receive?
That means that this resolution and this change, there will be no change to transportation for our students in grades 9 through 12 until we hear back from the work group and we implement this. So this gives us time for planning. So there will be no changes in the interim while the work group is being established and developing that implementation.
Thank you. And then how is that identified in the resolution? Because when I read it, it says the district will reduce transportation for students in grades 9 through 12 to state minimum requirements consistent with applicable law. but it sounds like you're saying we would not change our transportation practice. But that, and maybe I'm looking at it
You have to
different.
read the first part. Number one, effective 2027, 2028.
Right. So when we get to that year, you know, so we go through this timeline and then we arrive to say at the beginning of August 2027. There's nothing in here that says we have to have a plan. We have to have something with CODA that, you know, results in a product. And so I guess I'm just a little bit concerned.
Mr. Simmons.
Well, no, I understand Section 3. I understand Section 3 very clearly, but I'm also very familiar with how work groups work in government. And it's very often you have a work group that doesn't produce something that becomes adopted policy. That's just the truth. That happens often in government. You have a work group, a blue ribbon commission, a governor's committee or commission that comes together. They spend a lot of time, they do a lot of study, they look at a lot of material, but for one reason or another, nothing ever comes of that. And so I guess I'm concerned because, my reading of this resolution, it would seem to appear that we are authorizing our administration to go to state minimums, and we're directing them to work to come up with a plan, but we're not really saying what happens if that plan does not come to fruition. And it would appear what would happen come August would be that we would go to state minimum. And so what really, really concerns me is that our district, our students could be put in a position where, say, we begin January of 2027, the work group's been working, but for one reason or another, we're not able to come up with a plan that works. As we approach August, what are our families left to do? Well, they're going to be left to scramble and to find, they're going to wonder, do they need to find their own transportation for next year? And at the same time, we could potentially still be working on this solution. And so I'm a little maybe confused as to why, if we're saying we're going to wait for the plan to come and be developed in the future, why we would need to make this decision today. Because it would seem to me that if this would not take effect until August 1st or August of 2027, and we're giving our superintendent until January 31st of 2027 to come up with a plan, I guess I'm confused as to why, if board leadership or the superintendent or anyone could help me out as to why we need to make the decision to go to state minimums today rather than just make the decision to direct the superintendent to do this work group.
I thank you for that. And I will answer this, and we'll go to the floor for what is on the table to be voted for right now. So the first piece is that the board is given very clear direction in either resolution, very clear direction with a timeline. With a timeline. There's little accountability if there's no timeline in place to design a plan that thus then has to be approved by the Board of Education. Here's the opportunity. We have full freight still being afforded for every school student in the district in accordance to law, and also who are not in the district as charter non-publics to be afforded the opportunity to get yellow bus service from Columbus City Schools in school year 26-27. That gives more than enough time to give the superintendent, the board, because this is also in consultation with the Board of Education and other stakeholders in the community. That gives enough time for everyone to come together, have a rich, robust discussion, establish what the guidelines and guardrails of this conversation are, and what the outcomes ultimately are going to be intended to be for high school students 9 through 12 to be afforded mass transit transportation. But at the end of the day, we're making this decision today because we have a forecast that whether it's this year or the subsequent year, it is impacted by the decision that we failed to make today. So it's the time is now. It is not next year. The time is now to make a decision. The time is now. Very quickly. Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to do it very quickly, but I don't think we can. The question that I think we all need answered at this moment is very simple. If we vote yes for this resolution, regardless of if a viable plan is created and all the partners say, yes, we can do it, will we as a district, and I'm looking over to our legal counsel, move automatically to the state minimum because of the decision we're making today?
For school year 27, 28.
28.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's what the colleague is addressing. And so just to that, I'll just add that we did receive a very thorough email from Deborah Showalter about the implementation in Cincinnati and how it has taken them more than a decade to implement their process. And so I think our colleague raising up that is a year, enough time for us to really come together as a community and to put this plan, one, to establish the plan, to put it in place, to reassure our families that they can count on this plan. I think that's a viable question that our colleague has posed.
I think his question has been answered, and I thank you. Vice President Adair.
It's a very important question, but it's also a question that is you cannot ask in isolation, because the point of this is truly about cost savings. So these first resolutions are the beginning of the math problem to help us figure out how much of an impact we're going to take in the academic program, which is our personnel, okay? So first of all, we listened to the community, understood the concerns, and bumped implementation for both of these options back a school year, which means we can actually not put this number in our current math problem to get to 50. It will come out of a next budget, so a future cut, okay? So we've already made that. So it can't take 7.2 or the 4.8 or whatever it is out of the math problem. Right now we're at 34.6, everybody, okay? So just understand the math there, okay? Based on the actions the board has already taken this evening.
What does 34.6 mean?
Oh, so 50 million.
That's her calculation.
We just voted on the admin cuts at 6.6 million, so that brought us to 43.4. Then we just voted for the 8.8 mil on non-personnel, so we're down to 34.6 right now, right? We have to get to 50.
That is 34.6 million that is at current impact on classified and certified personnel.
Our academic program.
Yes.
So that's our number right now. So in listening to our community, we know that we cannot put in the transportation numbers right now because we do need more time. And we heard you loud and clear. And so, but the long-term question, the value question of this community is going to be, do we want a strong academic program? Hi, counselors and social workers who came up here building substitutes. Or are we going to be a regional transportation provider? And this is a very difficult decision. But as I walked around, I listened, I read the surveys, what this community is saying is we need a strong academic program, okay? So you cannot take these two things in isolation. You have to remember the big picture about what we are doing here. Now, this piece of legislation, to me, is not dependent on the plan. So this is a clear action, both of them are clear actions that at the beginning of the 2027-2028 school year, we will go to state minimums. The difference in them is whether or not we will be using money to buy CODA passes from our own funds. What the work group addition is in both of them is to figure out in really resolution 1, how do we work together as a community to ensure that we have options for families to have CODA passes, to have different kinds of funding in order for our kids to get to school. We also want to make sure that we are not absent from the solution, because while we are not a regional transportation provider, if we make these decisions, we know that our kids are impacted and we want to be at the table, which we're not always at the table, on things in our city. So that is why this establishment of a work group is important and here, because we want to make sure that we have voices and we are representing our families and children when we are working across the city to develop these solutions. So it is not, so you're right, Board Member Pierce, it is a trigger. The beginning of the 2027-2028 school year, there will be no more we will go to state minimums, and there will be no more high school transportation on yellow buses for this resolution. And in the other one, we would be buying CODA passes instead. And in the other one, if we buy CODA passes, remember that we would then be obligated to buy CODA passes for the charter non-public students under law. And there are requirements right now that if there are more than one transfer for a charter non-public student, we would have to offer yellow bus service. That is why the numbers, the reduction numbers are so different, okay? So I hope that
Would that be the same for our CCS students if we went to that rule?
No, it is not. It's not. Our CCS students can take as many transfers as
they need. All right, so.
And that is based on state law, not
Yes.
our,
Not
that
us.
is based on state law.
And can we also just add the importance that we have heard numerous times in our monitoring reports that attendance is extremely important for our 9th through 12th grade students, and we know that transportation plays a huge role in that.
And
We do, so that's,
those numbers.
please, point of order, so.
Thank you.
Board Member Vera.
I just want to thank my colleagues for raising up a lot of concern, and Vice President Adair for just pointing out the clarification in the two. I have similar concerns to my colleague, Board Member Simmons and Dr. Pierce. I've said that from the beginning. And this is my 4th year. We've been talking about transportation for 4 years. So the fact that we don't have a plan in this very moment is very concerning. And, you know, at the end of the day, we talk about the barriers that our kids are already facing. And when I think about high school kids, like some of us that were sitting here, we wasn't getting to school if we didn't get on that bus. And so, you know, while some are playing politics and some want to, you know, someone mentioned tonight it feels performative, I would have to agree in certain ways. Because we've been talking about this for decades, this transportation problem that we've had. And so my concern is giving approval that regardless of a plan that makes sense for this community is a viable plan that we're gonna just cut 9 through 12 regardless. And we have a lot of families who don't know how the public transportation works. We have a lot of families that don't speak English, that are working 2 and 3 jobs. We see what the CODA system, the troubles they have with everyday commute. What does that look like to put a 14-year-old kid right out of 8th grade standing at a bus stop, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning? Because they're not going to alter their time of pickup to accommodate our schedule. And I have asked where CODA is in this conversation. I have asked where our elected official, the people that are nicely worded in this resolution, where are they? And so for them to suddenly want to come together after we've already taken action, to me, is very concerning. And I really have hard reservation around, we know, as Dr. Pierce has mentioned, that attendance is one of our biggest needs. It's a theory of action. That's what I've been hearing about for 4 years. And so we're going to cut something without an actual plan and hope it all works out. So I've said this in the committee meetings, I've said this at this table, which just 2 weeks ago you told me this was going to happen in the fall. Now I see that it's pushed to 27, 28, and that's going to happen whether a viable plan is actually created or not, and I think that is something of concern.
President Cole.
Just a moment. I thank you for your comment. Board Member Ingalls, then Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, I just want to uplift the difficulty of this decision. This particularly 4.4 and 4.5 were very, very hard, and I honestly didn't know where I was going to go until probably yesterday, because I understand that kids need to be able to get to school in order to be educated. But if they get there and they don't have the supports they need in the classroom and around them, then what? And so this is an impossible situation to really weigh as a board member. It is very hard to think through $50 million in cuts because $50 million is a lot of money and it is a lot of things. And so as we think through these things, what experience are we giving our kids who do get to the classroom? And how hard are we working as board members to fight to get them there? And that is something that I take very seriously. And in walking through our buildings and watching our children be educated live, I see how important that support in those buildings is. And every decision we make to not make steps forward and make cuts in areas that are not personnel will result in personnel reduction. And that is very, very important that we understand and that we grapple with. And that is something that I know every board member has grappled with. But I just want to call it out publicly because that is the decision that we're making. And so, you know, I know that attendance is a big issue, and it certainly is part of every monitoring report is our kids showing up, and if they are, they're performing at higher rates. And when we have chronic absenteeism, we see a decline in performance. And that's very, very real. But if they get there and they don't have the supports they need in the classroom, then what? And what happens to our scores? And what happens to our goals and meeting those goals? And so there is no perfect answer here, and we can't fault anyone. But to me, working together and putting it out there that we're making this call, and we need to figure out solutions, and we need our city partners to step up. We need our county partners to step up. We need our business community to step up and really help us out and help us solve this issue that has resulted in a really difficult situation for our school district. I mean, Rodney's in the back, our transportation director, does incredible work, but it is a lot to put in a school district. I mean, we're the largest regional transportation carrier, and I don't know how large of a radius, but a pretty big one. And that is not what drives the goals. What drives the goals is academic performance and supports in the classroom and how we're helping people. So for me, that is the weight. That is the balance that I have really been struggling with. And so I want to call that out, that is a really difficult position to be in. But we need all of our partners to come to the table and help us with solving the issue that is before us. And to me, this is the one that feels the most equitable to the city of Columbus because it affects every student the same way, whether they go wherever they go. And so to me, that is the most equitable choice. And so that will weigh in my board decision tonight.
I thank you, Mr. Simmons, and then we're going to get back to the motion that is on the floor and call the roll. Yes, sir.
Thank you, President Cole. I wanted to just reiterate I'm very, very concerned about this. This resolution creates a space and time from February 1st of 2027 to the beginning of the school year where if our administration if the superintendent has not developed a plan for whatever reason, there are a myriad of reasons, but if the plan has not been developed, this leaves our students in a position in which our transportation will be reduced to the state minimum for our 9 through 12 students, which I believe that means we would not be providing them with any transportation because the COTA bus passes are not included in this resolution. I don't think it would be the best legislative practice for our body to create this gap to be dealt with by a future board in the event that a plan is not developed. I also want to remind our board that we did direct the superintendent 1 year ago, December of 2024, to come up with a plan for the implementation and closure of the 270 East State Street building. We did not get that plan by the deadline we established. For whatever reason that might be, we did not receive that plan. So there is precedent in this very moment. There is precedent a year ago that the board has made directions to get plans on these issues, and we haven't received those. I know what it's like to ride the CODA bus. I took the CODA bus to my meeting with Treasurer Cook today. I'm going to take the CODA bus home from this meeting today. Colleagues, the last bus comes at 11:22, so we need to wrap it up by then. But, you know, I take the bus a lot.
You
I took
help
the
with
bus
that.
to our workshop, or not our workshop, our town hall thing at Mifflin High School. It was hard. There's no sidewalks in that neighborhood. I had to walk out to a main road, and it was dark and it was rainy, and the bus driver almost passed me. She did stop, but she had to slam on the brakes, and you know, it was really hard. It was. And so I think about our students. I think about when I was growing up, what it was like to get up early in the morning and take the bus to school with my mom, because our living situation was, you know, a little bit fuzzy, and we weren't living at the address that the school bus was supposed to come to. We were living farther away. So I know what it's like to have to wake up really early in the morning and ride the bus to school. But truthfully, I'm ready to make that decision for our students today. I'm ready to do the CODA bus passes. And I'm ready to start that next year, because I also know what it's like to have to show up to a school building and, you know, need there to be a speech therapist there to help me with my, to help me, to know what, to need there to be an intervention aid. You know, I want to be able to provide the services that our children need when they show up to school. But I'm just very, very concerned, and I don't understand that, why we would create a gap in the future of potentially positioning the board to having not received a plan, but then going to state minimums, which I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, colleagues, but I don't think any of us here would say that the state minimum is our most preferred option. I think we would probably, if we had to choose to make a reduction, forgive me if I'm overspeaking, but I think we would probably want there to be some transportation at least, not no transportation. And so at this point in time, I am going to offer an amendment to the resolution.
Sir, there's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor.
Yes, President Cole.
And respectfully, what we're going to do is call the roll.
President
We're going
Cole.
to call the roll.
Point of order, President Cole.
Well, he can give the amendment. We haven't called the question yet.
Thank you. I move to amend the resolution offered by Vice President Adair to strike the first paragraph, effective for the 2027 to 2028 school year. The district will reduce transportation for students in grade 9 through 12 to state minimum requirements consistent with applicable law. And B, the district shall otherwise provide student transportation services to the extent required by law. This change, colleagues, it does not change how the superintendent would work to come up with a plan. That work would still progress under the resolution to January 31st, 2027. That does not change. So the superintendent is still going to be working on a plan. It doesn't say we're going to do the CODA passes, and it also doesn't take away the board's option. We could also decide on the next resolution, regardless of what we do with this amendment or in the main motion, we could still decide to do the CODA passes or not. And so it keeps our options open. I want to be clear about, you know, what it does. But most importantly, what it does is it doesn't create this gap from February 1st to the beginning of the school year in August of 2027 that we could potentially be left without a plan, as we have been in the last year. We've been left without a plan.
So, Mr. Simmons, respectfully, Mr. Simmons, what is your motion?
He just said to strike item 1A and 1B.
What I want him to do is just repeat for clarity.
And I did email this to our treasurer and parliamentarian, so they do have a written copy. But the amendment is to strike paragraph 1 in its entirety and to keep paragraph 2 and 3. And that doesn't change the fact that the superintendent is still going to be creating this work group to continue the work. It's just protecting our students and the board from having to deal with a future situation, which maybe we don't want to be in.
Can I just, the impact of what you
Please,
just said, though, but I think we have to financially understand what you're saying. Because without dates and without actual numbers, there is no budgetary reduction
At all.
At all. And so that means, even though we pushed it off 1 year, that means in the next year when we have to come back and cut more, we can't budget it in the 5-year forecast, and it's going to, we're not going to have any savings. So I just want you to fully understand
Reductions.
the reduction. I
Yes.
fully understand what you're saying.
Thank you. No, I agree. I thank you, Vice President Adair. I want to reiterate that as we discussed all through this year, in the second half of the year, up until 2 weeks ago, we were looking at implementing transportation changes for school year 2026. And I want to reiterate that I'm prepared to go to, we're not on that motion, but I'm prepared to go to COTA bus passes starting next year, because that's what I thought we had discussed leading up to this meeting. And so on the, in 1 second, please, 1 second, please. So on the topic of savings being delayed, I want to be clear that what the board was told, what the full board was told, is that we were looking at making changes for 2026. How we got in a space where this was pushed back a year and that pushes our savings back.
And
Point of order.
Madam Vice President, I have the
Point of
floor. I have
order.
the floor, please.
Explain
I
it
have the
then.
floor. Thank you.
Doesn't make sense.
Thank you. So, again, here's where you've made a motion, which has not been seconded.
Second.
So now it is seconded. Now it is seconded. Okay? Mr. Treasurer, call the roll.
Well, can I add, because I
Point of
did add
order.
the second.
Point of-
Colleagues, we have been given $61 million in proposed cuts, so our superintendent did give us more. And if you go through all the proposed amendments and you add them up, you can get to the 50 million in a variety of different ways.
Yes.
Hence, why 4.5 is that opportunity.
We
Ms.
understand.
Reyes.
Mr.
Point of
Treasurer,
order,
call
Ms.
the
President
roll.
Cole,
No.
point
Mr.
of
Treasurer,
order.
call the
Mr.
roll.
Simmons.
We're voting on the amendment.
We're voting on the amendment.
Call for the vote.
Mr. Simmons.
Call for the,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
it's for the amendment, right?
for the amendment.
For the
No.
amendment.
No. Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
President Cole.
No.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Ingles.
No.
Ms. Vera.
No.
Vice President Adair.
No.
Motion failed.
Motion does not pass. All right. So now we are back to Resolution 4.4.
Call the
We are
question.
back to Resolution 4.4.
We have a motion and a
Mr.
second.
Treasurer, we have a motion and
I
a
call the
second.
question.
Let's call the question.
Dr. Pierce.
No.
Ms. Reyes.
No.
Mr. Simmons.
No.
President Cole.
No.
Ms. Ingles.
Yes.
Ms. Vera.
No.
Vice President Adair.
Yes.
Motion failed.
Motion fails. Thank you. All right. So now,
4.5.
motion 4.4, Resolution 4.4 has failed. Off of the table at this point in time is any discussion about the elimination of, the full elimination of transportation for 9th through 12th graders in Columbus City schools.
We can still consider 4.5.
We're going to get to 4.5 right now. What I'm saying, what I just said is what's
Let's
off the
just go to
table.
4.5.
We already,
Yeah, just
already-
go to
4.4 is off the table.
Yes.
We'll move now to Resolution 4.5. I will read that resolution once more. To reduce student transportation to state minimum requirements and provide mass transit passes for students in grades 9 through 12. Estimated cost reduction, $4.8 million. Effective for school year 27-28, the district will not provide traditional bus transportation for students, and that's traditional bus transportation for students grades 9 through 12, except as otherwise required by applicable law. An example of that would be a student who is a SPED student that requires transportation, yellow bus from the district. That's one example of applicable law. B, in lieu of the traditional school bus transportation, the district shall provide cost-effective mass transit options through the Central Ohio Transit Authority for other providers for all students in grades 9 through 12 who would otherwise be eligible for transportation by the district in accordance with applicable law. The district shall otherwise provide student transportation services to the extent required by law. And then 2, of course, is the clause that shares the superintendent is directed to establish a work group in consultation with the board president or designee with COTA, the City of Columbus, and other relevant stakeholders to work collaboratively together to develop an implementation plan for school year 27-28 for consideration and approval by the board no later than January 31st, 2027. This has been motioned, and is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Mr. Treasurer, call the roll.
President Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Ms. Reyes,
Yes.
Dr. Pierce,
No.
Ms. Ingles,
Yes.
Ms. Vera,
No.
Vice President Adair.
Your time.
So mad. I'm so mad right now. Because the only difference is that we are paying for the CODA passes. It's our money paying for the CODA passes. There's still problems with implementation with CODA. There's no difference with concerns about safety or getting kids on the bus. The only difference is that we are taking money from our general fund to pay for CODA passes, and then charter and non-public students also get them. And then if they have more than one transfer, we are still doing yellow buses. And that means that we cannot get our academic program, and it means that we are cutting more of our people. I don't understand I don't understand why we're here, and I honestly do not know how to vote on this, because we need a reduction. We have to do a reduction, but to me this doesn't make sense either.
Madam Vice President, you have an opportunity to make a decision.
It already passed.
All of us.
What was
You
the
had
vote?
2 noes.
It's 3-3.
She's the deciding vote.
No, me and
No.
Vera were the
I have
noes.
President Cole, yes. Mr. Simmons, yes. Ms. Reyes, yes. Ms. Ingles, yes.
Yeah.
If you'd like to abstain, you have the ability to do that.
I would like to change my vote to a no.
3-3.
Oh, stay clear.
I agree with you.
But if we do nothing, we just did nothing.
We are going to do something,
No,
Board
no,
Member
we didn't. We
Adair.
didn't do-
As
we
a
did nothing.
board, we can come together and come up with a work plan.
It doesn't
It's
help
not
with
gonna
the
affect
planning or
this
the
Point of order. Hold on. What we're going to do.
You're going to cut jobs.
Hold on.
cut jobs.
What we're going to do.
We're closing buildings.
This is a tense and spirited conversation, and and that's totally understandable. But let's maintain our order here. Let's maintain our decorum. We still have a motion on the floor that has largely been voted upon. We're now 3-3. At the end of the day, we know that the math in terms of reductions is a slighter impact, and it is. It is. It's a slighter impact to the tune of somewhere around $3 million. We know that about $300,000 already is being expended for Columbus City School students to have CODA passes. What we don't know yet is how much that additional cost would be to incorporate CNP students into that, charter non-public students. But at the end of the day, the point here, ultimately for this math to work, is to be a significant, as close to a significant reduction and impact on classified and certified staff positions. Mr. Treasurer.
That is correct, and this is for FY28.
If this were to pass, if this resolution 4.5 passes, what will be the impact on staff certified and classified? What will be that personnel impact?
For FY27, there would be no impact.
Yes.
Going forward for FY28, it would be a $4.8 million estimated impact.
Which brings us down to what, Mr. Treasurer?
It's not a part of the 50. The 50 is for FY27.
President Cole?
Moving forward, what does it bring us down to?
Well, it would bring our cash balance down to $147.9 million in FY28, but no reduction amount has been set for FY28.
President Cole?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind the board and our community that, as we know from Treasurer Cook, our cost to employ us employee is about $110,000, a non-administrator. $4.8 million divided by 110, it comes out to 43.6. That is 43 positions. The cost to employ someone is $110,000. $4.8 million can pay for 43 positions. And that's truthfully what is on the line right now with this vote. It is 43 positions. I think we heard from our some of our staff today, and I believe it was the social worker team. I think, forgive me, but I think she said they were a team of 75 or 80. That's half of our social workers. That's what's on the line right now. It's 43 positions, and I think the CODA buses are hard. It is. I ride the CODA bus every week, and it is hard. It takes forever. Sometimes the bus doesn't come. Sometimes it misses you. Sometimes it splashes you with water. It's not always enjoyable, but ultimately, I think we have to have the people at the school to provide the services our kids need. And this is 43 positions. That's about half of our social workers, if I understood the speaker from tonight correctly.
Can we
All right.
we can
Do we
motion.
need a moment?
Do we need a recess?
Do we need a moment?
You can recess.
It's for her.
Oh, if a moment is necessary, I'm happy to
So
give us that.
I have a question. With the vote on the floor, can we table it, or do we have to do the vote?
You're in the middle of the vote. We need to conclude.
Motion to recess.
And can we do a recess in the middle of the vote, or so we have to conclude? Okay. No recess, no tabling.
All right. So, Madam Vice President, savings, create the reduction opportunity that saves positions in the district and still provides an option, a very viable one, however uncomfortable, a viable opportunity
I
for
guess
students.
what my problem
be
is
transported.
that the logic that we got here with everyone's logic makes no sense, because the same concerns that we had about CODA and having a plan are still very present here, because we're still putting our kids on CODA buses. You get that, right? It's not our kids on yellow buses. Actually, it's charter and public kids on yellow buses. That's who's on the yellow buses, not our kids. So our kids still have these same concerns that you all had about getting to school, and then we are not seeing the savings on the financial side. So that does mean that, I want more than 40-something counselors. I want more than that. So I just, if I vote yes on this, we are getting some reduction.
Motion carried.
No, I'm not voting yes. That is not my vote.
28, yeah.
And if I vote no on it, it means there's absolutely no reduction, and we are going to be.
That means
That means we have more time to work on it. We come back to the table.
with your new
Like,
people.
You all have 18 months
this
to do it
point
again.
in time,
Cook, when
we
do
want to
we have
protect
to-
transportation for our students. We need students in our
This is
building.
not the be all, right?
For the forecast, when is the last time that we can bring this forward?
So we'll be providing an update in February. We could do it in January. At one of the, we can do it in January if this should pass. Any resolution that passes tonight, I will build into that forecast. But it could be considered in January, and we could do a quick update to that forecast based on the potential outcome of this and reflect it.
And Vice President Derrick, that goes back to what the joint committees talked about, neighborhood schools, strong high schools, walking. I mean, that's 18 months for the new board and community to think about what are other alternatives. Maybe CODA is not the way. Unfortunately, this is not, we didn't do this. This is being done to us. And if we think that this is the end of cuts, you all are cutting another $50 million next year. So if we don't, if our community and the incoming board doesn't get together and say, we need to have strong neighborhood schools, we need to have schools that are full, with strong academic programs, with our strong people in them, with our students learning, That means the new board, this new entity, has 18 months to blow it up. And if you don't blow it up, it's going to be blown up for us, just like it's being done right now. We know Board Member Ear said we've been talking about this for a long time. Unfortunately, now the rules, the law changed on us and made that a faster thing. So we're going to have to get as innovative and creative as this community can get. And unfortunately, you're going to have to close more schools because you're going to have to consolidate somehow because this is not going to stop. So how do we create strong neighborhood schools where some of our kids who are in safe schools can walk, and or we can potentially bring some of our busing back? Because what it's costing us, and we've already heard it, is that we have buses going all over this city. That's what's costing us. So you all, I mean, it is a hard vote. We don't win. Nobody wins in any of these votes. But at the end of the day, you still have, as a board, you have 18 months to come back with a resolution and said, you know what, we voted on this, but the community rallied together. We had some great brains, great things, and in 12 months, it's going to look a little bit different. But you all have the opportunity to do that. This is not a forever in stone resolution. That's what you that is what you're getting afforded by moving this to 27, 28. If you did it in 26, then that is concrete. You have 18 months to make a change, whichever way you want to go.
And students
But
still
I
have the
also think
opportunity.
this resolution, and I think the gravity of the decision right now has really honed in and narrowed the fact that we have to really be intentional about what we are doing with our high schools. What are the programs that are within our high schools? And we need to have a serious conversation around consolidating so our students, just like our FMP committee told us years ago, for them to get the best academic opportunities, we needed larger high schools. For them to have the best athletic opportunities, we need larger high schools. This decision is affecting our high school students. So this gives us an opportunity to start talking to our middle school families and saying, what does your high school experience look like? What do you need to be successful? How can we further prepare you for the Columbus Promise and Buckeye Bound in a way that you will be able to be fully successful? We also know that the research says in those types of environments where you have more students, we need more guidance counselors because guidance counselors become even more important at that level. We need the intervention specialists at that level that can help with all of those barriers that our students are facing. So this really gives us an opportunity to focus on a student population that we have far too often overlooked. We've overlooked our high schools, and it's time that we really begin to think intentionally about how we are feeding our neighborhood elementaries, our little bit bigger middle schools that feed into those larger high schools that are regional for us.
I thank you, Dr. Pierce. That's a wonderful segue into completing this vote.
Okay. I do not think we need to be buying CODA passes. I do not think we need to be buying CODA passes for charter non-public students. I do not think we need to be routing them on yellow buses when they cannot get to their school without more than one transfer. I love our staff, and I'm going to work super hard to figure this out with our new board. I'm going to vote no on this.
Okay, motion fails. Thank you. All right. So motion fails. We'll move on to resolution 4.6. And essentially what this means is that we will continue to provide full freight the way we have. We have not made any reductions in this space at all. transportation will still continue to be a $75+ million expenditure on a per annum basis until such time that, we design some major resolve. Madam Superintendent, administration, Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Internal Auditor, I thank you all for your hard work, but I think a message has been made, clearly conveyed today, is that the getting together, the coming together of these local institutions that are either public or private needs to happen as soon as possible. As soon as
Board
possible.
President,
do
if
that
I
right
may,
now.
I would like to put a motion on the floor to take a 5-10 minute recess.
Second.
We need to.
All right.
Unanimous
There's
consent.
been motion and second for a 5-minute recess, and we'll make it a 7-minute recess. All right, 7 minutes. I amend that motion for 7 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion is seconded. Let's call the roll.
Ms. Vera,
Yes.
Ms. Ingles,
Yes.
Dr. Pierce,
Yes.
Ms. Reyes,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
President Cole,
Yes.
Vice President Dare. Yes, it passed. Motion carries. I'm sorry.
Thank you. At 7:58.
What'd I do?
He amended it. He seconded the amendment, so he voted on the amendment technically, not the.
Hello and welcome back to Math Everywhere. I'm Renee Harris, your math magician, helping you to see the magic in math. Today we're spending some time at Oakland Nursery with summer experience students from East Linden Elementary School. We're going to see what kind of math is involved in planning and preparing for gardens. Come on, let's go inside. So, look what I found. A nice little bag of Beet Detroit Supreme seeds. So when we're thinking about planting gardens, we have to have a plan on where we're getting started. And that plan first involves what kind of seeds are we going to need for planting. Now the cost of this bag of seeds is $2.79. But take a look here. Today, there's a savings of 25% off. So calculating that discount, that is math. And then some other specs that are included in planting and preparing for your garden is they need to be harvested. It takes at least 60 to 65 days for that harvest time. So the depth, in other words, how deep are you going to plant those seeds? That's part of measuring. You need to make sure the depth is at least 1/2 an inch deep into the soil before you begin to plant those seeds. Let's see what else we can find here in terms of math at the nursery. Again, we're here today at Oakland Nursery with some East Linden Summer Experience students. And here I have with me is
Zadaya
and
Sayana.
And they're gonna help me do something called subottizing. Now I've got a really pretty plant to show you, and I want you to look at the plant and tell me how many blooms you see. You ready?
Yeah.
This one.
3.
3? How did you know it was 3?
Because I was looking with my eyes.
Yes. You didn't have to count, you just knew, right? Now we are still gonna count so we can confirm that there are 3. Let's count together. That's 1, 2, 3. So that's 3. Great job. Give me a high five. Yes. So if you're thinking about planting your own garden, remember there are a few simple math concepts that are wrapped up in gardening, like measurement, time, the size and shape of your garden, the square footage that garden is going to cover. Perhaps a visit to Oakland Nursery will inspire you to want to create your own garden. As always, thank you for joining us today with Math Everywhere. And as always, math is everywhere.
I can say it's truly magical. They love the taste of fresh produce just from the plant. Some of my students don't even know where some food comes from the grocery stores, so they learn so many things when they garden.
So they really want to be a part of it. Some of them at first, they're really excited about it, but then there are others that say, I really want to know a little bit more about this, so it's more than just looking and glancing at it. It's like, how can I be a part of this? Because I've seen it go from being just a seed, and now it's growing, and I want to be a part of that process.
So they really take care of everything and do it all and know how to do it all, and they have a lot of pride in that, in showing whoever comes into our classroom what they do and how they do it and what they've grown.
I think it's really cool that they're learning how food is actually grown now, because so many places are using all hydroponics, and so it's really opening their mind to see different ways that food can grow.
Learning how to grow is really important, and when you see it in person, it's a lot different than just reading about it or seeing pictures of it. And taking the fresh produce that you grow and then being able to cook it and taste it in your classroom, then potentially going home and requesting it at home, I think is pretty powerful of an impact.
It tastes different because it's more fresh at the moment, and also when you freshly pick it and just go wash it real quick and then eat it, it's crunchy and delicious. But when you buy it from the store, it doesn't taste normal.
This is the best salad I ever tasted. This salad is so much yummier than my mom's own salad.
Having like a fresh lettuce that you just picked is really, it has its unique taste.
It was my first time ever trying bok choy and kale. They looked pretty weird at first. When my friends told me to try it, I just took a bite and it was super good.
Oh, it's so cute because they really have a new taste when they try like tomatoes from the grocery store. I mean, they don't taste the same as fresh from the vine, and just their brains are exploding. Like normally they want to ask for ranch and they just pop it without it, so that's amazing.
In the spring of 2024, Fort Hays was unexpectedly without a choir teacher. The principal, Dr. Milton Ruffin, took it upon himself to teach the class. Their final project was to be a recording of a song written by Dr. Ruffin. We now present to you the result of their hard work.
All right, let's do Celebrate. And you ready? Go. Hey, so we get the drop the jaw instead of ya. Hey, ya. Hey, ya. 1, 2, ready, and hey, ya.
I was pretty nervous. I'm not even gonna lie. I was nervous, but then again, I was very excited. I was like, this is my first time going to record. I hope I don't mess this up for everybody. You know, all these thoughts in my head. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I did it. I have no regrets of doing it. I wish I could do it again. Sadly, this is my last year. But yeah.
There's a brighter day coming, and it's getting closer every day. There is a brighter day coming where we all participate and we'll overcome that day.
He treated us like he treats his college students.
Yeah, which was cool, but at the same time, it's a little rough to meet those expectations.
It was very challenging for us to get there.
So we clap our hands and we lift our voices. At home, I can find a better you. At home, you can find a better me. At home.
I listened to just the stems of the song every day for about 2 weeks before the recording session, and then when I came in, you know, we did about 2 takes of it. I think it was a combination of like the first and second take. And
Yes, thank you.
All right. We are back from our extended recess. We left having voted down Resolution 4.5. We are now at Resolution 4.6, which is our 5th resolution. At this point in time, is there a motion on the
Yes.
floor? Dr. Pierce?
President Cole, I would like to offer a motion to introduce an additional resolution to establish a work group for establishing mass transit options for our students in grades 9 through 12. So the language would be as follows. Our board is, well, let me start this over. So here's the resolution, colleagues. The superintendent is directed to establish a work group in consultation with the board president or designee, with the Central Ohio Transit Authority, COTA, and the City of Columbus and any other relevant stakeholder to collaboratively explore mass transit options for students in grades 9 through 12 who would otherwise be eligible for transportation by the district in accordance with applicable laws, and to make recommendations to the board no later than January 31st of 2027. In addition, the superintendent is required to provide the board with updates on the work of the work group in 6-month intervals beginning January 31st of 2026 as the first report date. That is the resolution.
Second.
All right. This motion is seconded. Mr. Treasurer, we call the roll.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Vice
All right,
President
motion
Adair?
passes.
Yes.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay.
Vote anymore?
Okay, all right, so we will move on to, back to our agenda. Again, we are considering for motion, and I will read this to introduce it, but let me introduce it this way first. The next resolution for consideration is, again, item 4.6, a resolution to reduce student transportation for students in grades K through 8 attending school buildings other than neighborhood schools or 100% lottery schools. This action will be effective as of the next school year, which is school year 2026-2027. And the estimated amount for reduction is $8.7 million. Let me read this language as it is written. And I'm reading this as the introduction of a motion. To reduce student transportation or students in grades K through 8 attending school buildings other than neighborhood schools or 100% lottery schools. Estimated cost reduction, again, $8.7 million. Effective for 2026-27 school year, the district will provide transportation to students grades K through 8 who attend 100% lottery schools. The district will discontinue optional transportation for students grades K through 8 who do not attend 100% lottery schools. The district shall otherwise provide student transportation services to extend required by law, including but not limited to students with disabilities who may be placed in a school other than their neighborhood school. The superintendent, is directed to develop and implement a student transportation plan for school year 26-27 consistent with and take such other actions as are reasonably necessary to carry out this resolution. This is a motion.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Floor is open for discussion. If it is not, Mr. Treasurer, call the roll.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Motion
carried.
passes. All right. Thank you, colleagues. Our next resolution is dealing additionally with staffing. And this final resolution for consideration with regards to personnel and non-personnel is 4.7. The resolution to direct the superintendent to develop a proposed staffing reduction plan based on the prior actions of the board on the preceding resolutions. The board has already approved the cost reductions, but Mr. Treasurer, can you let me know if there would be any need to amend this resolution to achieve the $50 million cost reduction? Is there any need for that at this point in time?
Yes, Board President Cole, we would need to amend that figure from $34.6 million to $25,900,000.
Okay, so because of the previous resolution that just passed, 4.6, just so folks understand, we are now amending that number down to
$25,900,000.
$25,900,000, $25.9 million. We're now amending that amount. That is the cost impact. That is the cost impact as we understand it on classified and certified employees in the district. Yes?
Yes, we need a motion and a second.
Okay. It has been motioned and seconded.
No.
No.
We need a motion.
Excuse me.
He has
Let me
motion.
read
I'll
it as,
second.
let me read it as, please.
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend first, then we'll go back to the resolution.
Motion to amend the amount to $25.9 million.
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded. Can we call the roll?
Hold on, I don't think we have a second.
On 4.6.
On 4.6. Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good. Motion second. Ms. Vera?
Yes.
And this is for the amendment.
Amendment. This
Of
is
the
for the
amount.
amendment. $25.9 million. Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Cole.
Yes.
Vice President Adair.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Now we're back to the original as amended. Yep.
All right, now I will read Resolution 4.7. To direct the superintendent to develop a proposed staffing plan, estimated cost reduction, $25.9 million. Based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs the superintendent to, not later than January 31st, 2026, prepare and submit to the board a staffing reduction plan which shall contain recommendations regarding the number of certificated and classified staff to be reduced to constitute an estimated cost reduction of $25.9 million to be effective as of 26-27 school year. Take such other actions consistent with and as are reasonably necessary to carry out this resolution. This has been a motion.
Second.
It is now seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Dr. Peters?
Is there a question, Dr. Pierce?
There, could we change the order? Never mind. Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Motion
Motion passes. All right. Thank you all. We'll move on to 4.8. Now,
Quick point of order, President
please.
Cole. Can we get a running tally of where we are right now at cost savings? I'm calculating we're at 50 million.
50 million.
we are at 50 million.
Okay, congratulations, colleagues. Just wanted to make sure I was following the math.
Yep.
We are at 50 million, but the significant part of this conversation, the significant part of it, is that we have made a very limited amount of reductions that's going to impact our classified and certificated staff. So that's the key thing here today, is that, as I said earlier in the beginning of this conversation, we wanted to make as limited an impact as possible on the personnel side, particularly amongst our certificated and classified employees. So thank you. All right. The next set of resolutions are our realignment resolutions. In addition to the resolutions that we just considered regarding budget reductions, the agenda also includes 4 resolutions addressing proposed school building closures that were also recommended by the administration. The board will consider each of these building closures separately. Though these closures will result in some general fund cost reduction, such as savings on utilities, we are considering them separately from the budget reductions because it is difficult to identify other general fund cost reductions at this time. So, for example, in the closure of a building, the best we know at this point in time is what we would otherwise reduce in costs, maybe even call that savings, but accrue in some measure of savings because we're not making those expenditures on utilities. So we save money on the utility bill by not having utilities at all. But we're not able to identify any other added costs in terms of savings to that at all. And specifically because the building has not been sold and there are certain requirements in accordance to state law that require us to follow a process for building sale anyway. All right. However, future reductions could result from efficiencies in transportation and staffing and reduced maintenance costs due to the demolition of the building. In addition, these closures would increase enrollment in other buildings, which will allow the district to preserve F&P investments already made in newer buildings that the district might otherwise be required to offer to charter and non-public schools based on pending legislation in the Ohio General Assembly. All right. So now we are at Resolution 4.8. I will read it and offer it as a motion. Resolution, closed school building, Duxbury Arts Impact Elementary School. Based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs the superintendent to implement the closure of Duxbury Park Arts Impact Elementary School, located at 1779 East Maynard Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43219. Present the board with a timeline and plan for the implementation of school closure no later than or before January 31st, 2027, including the relocation of the elementary arts program to the Fort Hays Metropolitan Education Center campus, acknowledging the closure and relocation to not occur prior to the 27-28 school year. The board approves the demolition of Duxbury Park Arts Impact Elementary School upon closure. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's motioned and seconded.
President Cole?
The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, President Cole. As I read this motion, I do have a question that, the motion to relocate the elementary arts program to the Fort Hays Metropolitan Center campus, I'm not super familiar with the campus, but Dr. Chapman, are you able to tell the board, is there space for the 184 students already at the Fort Hays campus, or will this require a capital investment from the board to become a reality?
No, we do not have space at the Fort Hays campus at this time to accommodate an elementary school program. So this motion would absolutely require a significant capital investment to make that happen. Because as you also know, at Fort Hays, many of those buildings are historical sites. And so we can't just build a building anywhere. We will have to make sure that we would be following all of those guidelines regarding to historical sites. And so we don't have a building on site that would be ready for that. So we would have to make significant investments to identify a structure or decide if we're going to build a structure to make that happen.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. And then I understand you probably don't have cost estimates right in front of you, of course, but when you say significant, is that in the multi-million-dollar range?
I would say a cost to build an elementary school or a cost to renovate a historical building, so to be significant.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little concerned because I think about back to last December when the board voted to close the McGuffey building without there really being a place for cause to go at the time. And, I know that's still being sorted out. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about the decision to close a school without really a firm place identified for where those students could go for this program to continue, for their education to continue, for their school community to continue and live on. And so, certainly maybe would be in favor of exploring that. Yeah, I do think it would be good to have all of our K-12 arts programming on one campus. I think that would be really good for our district and our students right here in downtown next to the arts campus, the arts college. I think that would be really good for our city. But, I am concerned that I don't quite see the virtue in making a decision to relocate students without there actually being the space to relocate them to. And so just a little bit concerned with that resolution today, colleagues.
Are there any other comments? Vice President?
For all of
okay?
For all of these, the duty of the board is to really look at the asset. And this is really hard because the planning and what comes after is the superintendent's job and responsibility. And we definitely want to know these things, and it's very important. And for this one in particular, if we remember as it was presented to committee, this is actually different. It was first presented to committee. The superintendent proposed that when Duxbury would close, and really that is the board's vote here about the actual building itself, that those students would then go to South Mifflin and coexist with them. We had the opportunity, some of us yesterday went and visited the buildings and had many questions about some of these moves. Understanding that, came back and talked to the superintendent, as well as just this concept that for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, we've been talking about establishing this integrated arts campus at Fort Hays from pre-K to 12. And so if we are going to close Duxbury, which we should, that building needs to come down,
The point of adding in specifically the Fort Hays campus here, and you'll notice this is different than the other resolutions. The other resolutions do not name something. It's because this is the community's value that we want to ensure that we are speaking out loud to our superintendent. We do not want a transition spot. We do not want a holding spot. We do not want a spot for Duxbury to sit maybe temporarily for years. We want a plan to get them and to get this integrated campus. And so it will take an investment. It will take us planning. But it's kind of like the West Broad situation, right? Duxbury won't move until that happens. So it's not an immediate thing. It does have to integrate into the rest of the planning. But this is the board's intention of saying this building is not in a condition for current students, and we want to effectuate our community value of creating that integrated pre-K to 12 arts program at Fort Hays, the location that we have been talking about. And that's really the purpose of this, adding that second part in about where we're putting it. That is different than all the other pieces of legislation. And again, I just want to remind my colleagues, and you can disagree with me if you want to, but the point, the purpose, the responsibility of the board is to manage the asset. The programs, the people, the enrollment boundaries, that's the superintendent's job. We all are part of that. We hold her accountable to that. We hold her accountable to making plans and getting all of our questions answered. But we, at this moment, are talking about asset management. And pouring money into these buildings is really not a good investment where we could be putting that back into our academic programming. And last thing I will say, and I won't do this on all of them, this has nothing to do with what's actually happening in our buildings. Like, the learning communities in all of these buildings are strong and vibrant. The staff is great, the kids are great. Duxbury Park, we need to work on enrollment. If we really, really, really want this integrated campus, we need more kids here. So we have lots of things to talk about around enrollment and how we do this. I put videos out on my own Facebook page. Y'all can go see those, and I will stop talking about that. But for all of them. But again, it's about the asset. And at this point, walking through that building, it's not a condition, I think, for our students, and we can do better. So I will be supporting this one.
I thank you. All right.
President Cole, as a point of clarification, so if I'm understanding what Vice President Adair just mentioned, is this then saying that this resolution is either way, if it's passed, it's the understanding that this school isn't able to relocate until the investment or plans for Fort Hays has been established?
That is correct. Because at the end of the day, when we visited these schools, and by the way, thank you to Board Member Vice President Adair, Board Member Engel, Board Member Vera for joining me and everybody for being at these schools and visiting and talking to our staff and principals. At the end of the day, the answer to that question is yes. It was made very clear to us by Duxbury that they wanted their landing spot to be Fort Hays, the Fort Hays campus. We understood that walking away as the value of what they expected, and that is possible. And if that's the case, then let's plan for that transition as opposed to just planning for moving them to a temporary space in a way that also disrupts that academic program.
The one there.
So South Mifflin Elementary has an incredibly strong STEM program. They have all the things in that building, staff to resources, all designed to create that rich experience for them, as you saw with your own eyes. Understanding that that program is successful, so is Duxbury's program. But how does that integrate? And even that staff was very unclear as to how that could actually work. This is why we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for the board to honor what it is that Duxbury was looking for and give you the time to be able to plan that, the resources around that, and figure out how that can actually work. So the answer to your question is yes.
Just as a point of clarification, President Cole, who is we in your sentence? Like, when you say we wanted to give, because I understood it, like when we went to see it yesterday, South Mifflin thought they were coming there. So when in the wee hours did we suddenly land on Fort Hays being, because that's not what you presented to us. And so I'm confused on where this Fort Hays line is coming from, because just to your point, Vice President Adair, we just said that that's her job to figure out how to move these schools. So I would actually offer that we should consider amending this and taking out that Fort Hays metropolitan line. Not to say that's not where they should belong. I'm not arguing that. But if we're saying that this school needs to come offline, but now we're putting another barrier, we still haven't figured out what's happening with West Broad Elementary. So this is yet another school that's not really going to come offline. It's going to sit stacked up until you can get to it. So when you talk about cost savings, this is not going to be a cost savings. So I just want to be very clear that I was not in support or of, making sure that this was tied to a Fort Hays relocation. I understood that it would be a closure. You would figure out and work with the staff of these schools to figure out where these kiddos would go. So I just want to be clear on who is the we in that statement around Fort Hays being the landing site for this closure.
So,
well, in her presentation, she did say it as the next step, but I'll let her talk about that. So the we is the community, and it was always a temporary spot. That's how the superintendent presented it to committee, as a temporary spot. Here's the other thing. To be temporary, we still have to make capital investment into that South Mifflin school. So we're spending money either way. So why not just get them to the place that they need to go instead of trying to create more, squeeze in a school, and then those two schools, basically, if you put them in, it's a full building. Neither program can grow. And so then you've capped them. And then if the goal was to pull the art program out, then when you do that, finally, you have a STEM program that has not been able to grow, and now it's an underutilized building too.
No, I get that. I guess my concern is when you give us these kind of simulations or ideas of where these schools could be relocated, you still have to do an entire process. So it's not that it will be at Mifflin, South Mifflin. So I think before we pigeonhole her to one specific site, we should really give her the opportunity, like we just did with this last consolidation. There's still conversations about where COS is going to go. So I would offer, just as my personal opinion, I don't think Fort Hays should be tied to this specific legislation. I think like the process we've just gone through with the last consolidations, you will have to figure out to honor, as to my colleague just said, South Mifflin is doing amazing STEM work there. Duxbury has a very robust arts program. You have to make sure it makes sense. We did the math, the enrollment, it doesn't make sense. So I'm hopeful that you will consider a different site, because based on what we saw yesterday, the math does not math for that particular solution. But I recognize that that wasn't your final solution, and that's not what we are voting on tonight. By adding this particular line, I believe that goes into you telling you now where this school has to go. And that may not necessarily be something we can do in the immediate. So going back to cost savings, this is not something that I don't believe is going to happen anytime soon. So that puts the Duxbury community in limbo, like COS, like West Elementary. Like there's a lot of schools right now. What about our school? What's happening? This is going to be another school we add to the list if we do this line around Fort Hays. Just my thought.
Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, President Cole. I certainly do share Board Member Vera's concerns about stacking up on buildings. The board has, to this date, made several construction commitments. We kind of made a commitment to West Broad last December. We have a commitment to COS from years and years ago. And we also have our FMP plan that we're still in some ways committed to, which includes things like the Mifflin Middle School site, which is a really good opportunity for us to build on, as are a lot of other properties throughout the district. And so I'm concerned, we're in this space where we're about to not just make a closure decision, but we're also about to make a capital plan decision, essentially. We're about to make, in a way, an FMP decision, because we are essentially committing the district, committing the superintendent to spending permanent improvement dollars to make the investment on the Fort Hays campus when, that we don't know if it will be cheaper or more expensive to make the investment in South Mifflin because we haven't done the cost estimate. So to our colleague's point about why not make the investment in Fort Hays, but we really can't say why not because we don't know what's cheaper. And I think, and this is my biggest concern, the only reason why this closure would not happen in the near future is because there's no space for the kids to go. There's no classroom available, as we just heard from our superintendent, there is no elementary classroom available on the Fort Hays campus. And so without a significant, as the superintendent said, without a significant capital investment to make that a reality, there's nowhere for these kids to go. So it's not a closure that's going to I think to Board Member Vera's point, it's not in a way a closure. It's a kind of a delayed decision, delayed on further action. And I do agree. I think consistent with how we did the resolutions last December, which is what we discussed at our last meeting, those closure resolutions would be, we did provide our superintendent the opportunity with Columbus Alternative High School to take that, work with her team, come back to the board with a plan several months later. I know we've gotten some updates since then, but we're still, more things are cooking. And so I do think it probably would be best if we continued our past practice and did provide the superintendent that opportunity. And again, I think it would be great if we had all of our K-12 arts programming on the Fort Hays campus. I think that would be amazing. I think there's so much potential on the Fort Hays campus, but I'm just not prepared to, in a siloed decision that only looks at one of our buildings and not all of our land, all of our buildings, that doesn't take into consideration the whole picture. I'm just not comfortable making a capital, a permanent improvement dollar and investment commitment and committing the superintendent to one particular building. I really would like to see what your team could come up with in 6 to 8 months down the road.
So I'll make a motion to amend the resolution to strike in 1B after the date July 31st, 2027, including the relocation of the elementary school arts program to the Fort Hays Metropolitan Education Campus, acknowledging the closure and relocation will not occur prior to 2027-2028 school year. Or just wait. Sorry.
So you're going from
no, just
one
the
comma to
including
second column?
including to the name of the campus, right? So does that mirror the rest of them?
Yes.
So you're striking out including though?
Second.
Including
one comma to the next comma?
yes, it's comma to comma.
Okay.
All right, that's a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Motion and seconded. We are
Or
now,
do you want a second? Because that was your idea.
He seconded it.
motioned and seconded. What we're doing is voting on the amendment to strike language to align to the other resolutions that give the superintendent the opportunity to decide where these schools will actually land.
That's correct.
Where Duxbury specifically in this resolution.
Correct.
All right. It's been motioned and seconded. Call the roll.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Amendment carried.
All right.
Motion to
Motion as amended.
passes. All right, now we have a motion to adopt this resolution,
We've already got the motion in the second,
and we have it.
as amended.
Y'all don't let me just walk towards it, but I thank you. All right, call the roll.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
No.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes, motion passes. All right. We will move on to Resolution 4.9. I will read this as a motion offered. To close building Fairwood Alternative Elementary School based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs the superintendent to implement the closure of Fairwood Alternative Elementary School located at 726 Fairwood Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43205, to be effective for the 26-27 school year. Present the board with a timeline and plan for the implementation of the school closure not later than or on before June 30th, 2026. The board approves the demolition of Fairwood Alternative Elementary School upon closure. This is a motion. Is there a second? Motioned and seconded by the Vice President. Floor is open. Mr. Simmons, and, well, let me go to Ms. Ingles, and then Board Member Simmons, Board Member Vera.
Yeah, I just want to uplift that it is really hard to take schools in isolation, and what we need is a full and comprehensive plan, and I feel like we've continued to say that as a board over and over again, and that is what we need, is a full comprehensive plan. We need a full strategy that looks at the entire district and takes into account where we are going to go so that we can easily communicate that to our community, because I think right now, I mean, we saw people tonight talking about a school closure that's not going to happen. That's not on the table tonight. And we are going to buildings and people are getting confused about, are you coming and closing my school next? Do I have to worry about that next year? And if people don't have a clear vision and they don't understand where we're trying to go as a district and what we're trying to create for our kids, it's going to continue in this mass confusion. And I hate being here, and I hate that we continue to put ourselves in this position. We need a massive, comprehensive plan that looks at all of the buildings and that really creates the vision to drive forward. So I want to re-echo that. I know that was said in pieces by my board colleagues, but I want to make sure I'm saying it too, because it is very frustrating. And I know that, you know, we need to look at what kind of learning environments our kids deserve and what that looks like moving forward, but it's got to be more strategic than the way that we're doing it right now.
I'm excited and looking for the reintroduction of 7105 from your committee at our next meeting. I'm excited. We're doing the work.
It's sitting in Academic and Facilities Alignment Committee.
All right, thank you. Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, President Cole. I just had one question and one concern. This resolution is worded differently than the Cuomo resolution, for example, and I'm just curious if that was an intentional choice, or maybe, because I know this did come up last December, if maybe we just used the same document and didn't make all of the revisions that were necessary. So I wanted to get clarification just that the language is exactly what we want it to be. And then in addition, the timeline doesn't exactly make sense. It says present a plan on or before June 30th, 2026. Our board has traditionally taken a recess in the month of July, which means we would receive that plan on June 30th. We would not meet for a month, and then we would come back, and it would only be one meeting before the start of the school year in which the closure is to be effective. And so I'm unless I have the timeline wrong, I'm a little bit.
That wasn't the process. That's not the process.
Oh, go ahead.
Vice President,
I'd love
got a point of clarity.
Well, I think the superintendent should talk about the timeline. If it's going to follow the same process that we've been using. So when it says create a timeline and plan, if you remember, that's the thing that they came to us and they said, like, here's when we're going to do the community meetings and we're going to do the
Is there
enrollment.
a template per se that can be applied to this school? But I'm concerned. My concern is actually, it's not so much what plan Dr. Chapman puts together. That's not the nature of my concern. The nature of my concern is that the board would have July to review it, which we don't meet during July, and then we would have one meeting in August, and then it would be the start of school. And so if the intention of having this language in here is to create space for the board to review the plan the superintendent presents, I'm not sure we're leaving enough time on the calendar to do that. It's the concern I'm raising.
So, Dr. Chapman.
So should this one be January 2027?
It's this.
No, it's for next school year.
Dr. Chapman.
So this transition for Fairwood would be for the following school year, next school year, for the 26-27 school year. To Board Member Simmons, we could certainly move that date up a bit earlier. Certainly we have a structure for how we transition a building, because we've been working on that and building that framework over the last couple of years. And so we could certainly provide an update prior to June, because it would be for the 27-28 school year, which would be August of 2026, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chapman. I think we typically meet twice in 2 regular business meetings in June and then a close of the books meeting. If we were to move the deadline up a month, do you think that would be feasible for your team?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chapman. President Cole, I would like to make a motion to amend the resolution to strike June 30th and replace that with insert May 31st.
That is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. We will call the roll for the amendment.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Sorry, I'm looking at a calendar.
You can move on.
Ms. Engel?
I didn't say my vote yet.
I'll come back. Ms. Ingles?
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Amendment.
All right, so that motion carries. We still have the motion on the floor, so the language is now amended for a May date as opposed to the June date. All right, we're back to the motion on the floor.
We have motion and second.
And it has been seconded. Now, can we call the roll?
Dr. Pierce?
So I'm concerned that as a board colleague, we need to visit our monitoring calendar and all of these updates to ensure that we are really calendarizing the work that needs to be done. So we're getting these reports as they should be given. My vote is yes, but I think we need to, as a board, really look at our calendar.
Okay, you'll do that certainly in the future.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes, thank you. All right, motion passes. All right, we will move on to section 4.10. I will read this, and it will be offered as a motion. To close building Como Elementary School, based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs the superintendent to implement the closure of Como Elementary School located at 2989 Rice, or is that Reese? Thank you, because y'all Northsiders. Reese Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43224, to be effective for the 26-27 school year. Present the board with a timeline and plan for the implementation of the school closure not later than or before January 31st, 2027. The board approves the demolition of Como Elementary School upon closure. This is a motion.
Second.
It's been seconded. Floor is opened for any discussion. Just for clarity's sake as well, this timeline was established to give the superintendent opportunity to ensure that families that wanted to either lottery or transition to another school had that opportunity to be able to do that. So with that, we'll call the roll, Mr. Treasurer.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes. Motion passes. All right. And we have Resolution 4.11, 4.11. The resolution is, and I will offer this as a motion, to close school building Everett Middle School, AKA, actually known as Columbus Gifted Academy. Based on the information and recommendations presented, the board directs the superintendent to implement the closure of the former Everett Middle School building, which currently houses the Columbus Gifted Academy, located at 100 West 4th Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43201, to be effective for the 27-28 school year. Present the board with a timeline and plan for the implementation of the school closure not later than, on, or before January 31, 2027, including the relocation of the gifted program to another school building. The board approves the demolition of Everett Middle School upon closure. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Floor is open.
I just wanted to
Madam
say
Vice
that and this is why all the Avondale people are here. So, the board is voting on the closure of the building, and what was proposed by the superintendent was a move to Avondale. That would be her responsibility, as we've kind of already outlined. I want to just put on record by saying that visiting these locations, I do not think that is a good idea. I do not think it fits. I do not think that the space is appropriate. I think that that is something, just immediately walking in, you could see that Avondale would not be a good fit for the gifted population in terms of programming, size of student, and just facility needs in general. So I do support this resolution concerning the building. But we're not voting on that part of it for her. So, but I just want to put on record that I do not support that suggestion by the superintendent.
And I echo Vice President Adair's comments. I too visited Avondale and Gifted yesterday, and it's two incredibly amazing programs, and certainly some real hard consideration will need to go into where to put Gifted. But Avondale, and this is your job to figure out, Dr. Chapman, I would agree. I do not believe that is the place for the Gifted program.
I had the same opportunity and shared space with everybody while we were there as well. That building has been uniquely designed over time. At the Everett building has been uniquely designed over time to accommodate what has grown into a very robust series of programs, whether it was the vocal piece, whether it was the music piece. I mean, when you're thinking about where to house that music program at Avondale, there is no way on God's green earth that that could happen at all. And that's just one example of several. I am in absolute agreement as well, but this is why I will certainly continue to encourage the future Board of Education to always incorporate school visits into your decisions to close or consolidate facilities. This is why we took the very thoughtful and considerate process to ensure that this alignment, this realignment, made any kind of sense for schools. And we found out in several incidents that that just wasn't the case. So I recommended, if there is anything, if we found a better landing space specifically for Columbus Gifted, if there were such an opportunity because we built it for them or because we found the most accommodating space for them to be, I still see Everett as a tremendous opportunity for public-private partnership, a tremendous opportunity. And not just because of the building and asset itself, but also because of what it's adjacent to. It's right next door to one of the city's only indoor pool. I mean, it's just an incredibly rich space with a great opportunity in what is still an emerging community in Columbus as the South, as the short north. So there's great potential there, but also even greater potential for our students. So that now, last comment, go ahead, please.
Thank you, President Cole. Dr. Chapman, could you provide the board with some insight into why Avondale was selected?
So when we began this process, in all of the conversations that we've had about school closures and realignment work, we were looking at consolidating, not thinking about adding additional funding, we're asking for additional funding because we recognize that is a part of future planning regarding our facility master planning. So for the schools that we were considering, it would require a merger of some sorts. And so Avondale was one of the schools that we considered because of where it's located. It is locked in terms of the neighborhood, and there are limited opportunities to think about the number of students that live in that area. And so it was an opportunity to bring the programming to the west side at Avondale and to transition. Again, we know that Everett is probably one of the oldest buildings that we have in our inventory. In Columbus City Schools. I believe it's over 100 years old. I'll have to double check that. But it was one of the buildings that has been brought forth through several facilities task force for several iterations, right? Not just the most recent one, but previous ones, and strongly recommended for consideration for closure. And so when we were thinking about this set of schools that we brought forth, we were thinking about enrollment at all of the schools where we've already made significant FMP investments that were not at the maximum capacity, because that was another piece that was really causing us to think very urgently about these schools that we've already invested in. So we didn't lose our investments, our community investments in our FMP buildings. When we have FMP buildings that are not full or at capacity, we as a district, because of the legislature, could potentially lose those buildings. And so we were looking at the buildings that have additional capacity and we've already invested in so that they would not become at risk for us having to force to sell them and lose them.
Thank you. And the proposal was, I just want to make sure I understand, in the joint committee slides, was it to combine Gifted and Avondale, or I believe it was to redraw the boundaries so the students currently going to Avondale would go to surrounding elementary school?
Correct. That was part of the recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. But currently, as it stands, the existing enrollment at Avondale leaves the building as a risk, if depending on the pending legislation.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Oh, I'm sorry. I did have one more question. Similar to Duxbury, I look at the enrollment at the Gifted Academy. There's 409 students. That's a little larger for one of our schools. Where in the district are 409 seats for those kids, if not at Avondale?
In order to accommodate a robust program like the Gifted Academy, we would have to, if not Avondale, it would be another school that we would have to reassign students, redraw boundaries to accommodate them. So if not Avondale, is it another school across the district? That's the only way that that would be able to happen given the size of the program and the number of students that they serve. Remember, most of the other schools that we've considered before were much smaller in enrollment. 150 students, under 200 students, and so forth.
I just want to remind, like, in walking through, the biggest thing that I took away from that is that it's one school, but they actually run it very much as two separate schools. They have the elementary programming, they have their own art gym, all of that. They run them at the same time. They have then their middle school program. So they're running two schools in one school. I think we can think a little bit more creative about it. And if we do want to do something more like a bigger pre-K to 12 gifted cause thing, we got to think about it. We got to plan it out. We got to make it right. I just want to say, we need to stop trying to shove kids in buildings. This has to be about student experience. And, when we look at buildings on paper and we're like, oh, well, yeah, 400 seats, 400 kids, let's do it. And then you go and you see what's happening or the needs of the program. I mean, it makes no sense. And we know what that's like because we are trying to unfold from that now. And so we cannot, and look, community, that might mean we're going to lose some buildings to charter schools. And that's not our fault. We need to go yell at the legislature for that. But I would rather that than harm our students and their experience by shoving them in educational environments that do not meet their needs. And so it's hard, right? This all is very, very hard, and we have to have those conversations, and that's why the integrated plan is really important.
All right. So the motion is on the floor and has been seconded.
I was still with Dr. Chapman.
You have one more.
Thank you. And then, Dr. Chapman, so what you're saying is when the board chooses to relocate a building, on this motion, we are displacing someone in the district.
No, we're just voting on closing a building.
But I'm sorry. So I understood what you said, Dr. Chapman, was that in order to move the gifted program and the amount of students they serve over 400, that if it's not Avondale, it would have to be another building in which I believe you said that the students would, redraw the boundaries, be reassigned. That sounds like a displacement.
Correct. But I also hear a strong sense of urgency from our board that is shared by the administration to dedicate and commit to doing this work in a thoughtful way by taking the time to develop an integrated facility master plan, which we currently do not have as an organization, that acknowledges where we need to build new schools, where we need to close and consolidate, and shows what that realignment looks like across the entire district with a smaller footprint that accommodates larger schools so that we can increase our enrollment and serve our students and provide them with the programming that they need to be successful in K-12 and beyond. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for us to say that starting in January, we talked a lot about January, about making the time through our committee work, community engagement, to develop an integrated facility master plan that acknowledges all of those needs in one plan. We do not have that as an organization. It will take a commitment from everyone. It will mean we will have to stop doing some things so that we can make the time, energy, and effort to commit to that planning process. Planning doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when we all show up. Board members, community members, staff members, our school-based staff, our central office staff, our parents, our students, our future students. And so I believe that this is a right time for us to make a commitment to do that work earnestly as soon as possible so that we do not have to play whack-a-mole when it comes to our facilities work.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. I certainly agree, and I would just add that I do think there needs to be an assessment or review of the previous FMP plan to see, it was only a few years ago, but to see how that might fall in alignment with the district's current needs. I think starting from square one, when we do have a plan that's fairly recent, I don't think makes a lot of sense. And so I would just encourage us in the new year to really look back at that 2022, I believe it was, FMP, and review it to try to dust it off and see what could still work for the district and before we endeavor on a brand new plan.
All right. I thank you for the feedback and insight. Please, Dr. Chapman, walk away with this salient and board colleagues, particularly those who will be here next year. I think it's important to not forget the timeline, the clock. When the clock begins, when a school is closed, the clock starts. As per Ohio Revised Code, as per Ohio law. So stuff that you put off for now, things that have been delayed for whatever reason at this point in time, or maybe in the near future, you better give deep consideration as to what the impact is going to be on you fiscally and from an asset perspective, what can be taken versus having the opportunity to do some other things with it. So thank you for that. Moving on, we will move.
We had a motion.
We got a vote, don't we?
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Are we voting on the amendment?
We are voting on 4.11.
4.11.
Yes.
Ms. Ingles.
Yes.
Ms. Vera.
Yes.
Vice President Adair.
Yes.
President Cole.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Dr. Chapman, before we get to our sections, 5.1 to 7.1, I just want to leave you with this thought. It's really important. There's some takeaways that this administration needs to hear. And the key thing is one, have a plan. I think it's better to come to the board much more equipped with a plan, not just a vision, but the plan that actually accompanies it in a way that was thought through, in a way that incorporated more voices, particularly even your building staff, your administrators in the building. The other piece is the expeditious work that has to be carried out in putting together this work group around student transportation. I'm not as cynical as some of my other colleagues may feel themselves being. I believe that we have the opportunity and ability to solve the problem. I think that the community can come together and do it, but it has to get done, and there's a deadline. So with that, we will move on to
Quick point of order,
5.7.
President Cole, before we move on. Can we just get a running tally of the total of the cuts that we were able to make this evening, the rough estimate?
Yeah, so we had on the initial, it was the full $50 million. And then on the resolutions that passed for facilities,
So I have us down for the utilities. My number that I have is $50,453,610.
that is
that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Way to go, colleagues.
All right, thank you. Okay. We're moving on to sections 5.1 through 7.1, excuse me. Madam Superintendent, is there a report?
I have a few comments. Thank you, President Cole, Vice President Adair, and members of the board. Certainly want to begin by thanking each of you for your leadership through some of the toughest decisions our district has faced in recent years. Navigating more than $50 million in reductions is difficult work, and I appreciate your willingness to keep our students at the center as we confront our financial challenges head on. You have made yourselves available to our community through months of meetings, school visits, work sessions, and many conversations to support this work. You have asked thoughtful questions, weighed every recommendation carefully, and remained committed to our shared mission. I also want to extend my gratitude to our joint committee members for their thoughtful collaboration and for standing with us throughout this process over the last few months. I want our community to know that we have collectively taken on this work with empathy for our staff, our students, and with a focus on long-term stability with a clear understanding that our students are counting on us to build a stronger CCS. I also want to thank our dedicated CCS staff. I acknowledge that these reductions and this journey is very challenging, and it affects our people, who we rely on to show up for our students every day. I want our staff to know that we are committed to make sure that we address these reductions through attrition first. That's retirements and resignations. In a district of our size, we typically have at least 200 transitions for employees each year. That means resignations or retirements. We will also work very closely with our labor partners to follow all of our bargaining agreements and our state laws regarding a reduction in force. To our union leaders, many of whom were here with us this evening, I want to thank you for your ongoing partnership. Thank you for standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder with us at the State House, advocating for CCS, and for working with us to navigate this moment with professionalism and care. Together, we have navigated both challenges and victories. I appreciate your willingness to stay at the table, to ask the hard questions, and to hold our administration accountable. We remain focused on what we all care about, which is the success and the well-being of our students and our staff. We all know that the source of these challenges did not begin here. Decisions at the State House and years of underfunded mandates at both the state and federal levels have placed districts like ours in impossible positions. And still, we show up. We lead, we teach, we serve the over 45,000 students who count on us each and every day. As we move forward, we are committed to protecting what our students need for future learning: robust instruction, whole child supports, stronger pathways, and safer schools. Our board goals and guardrails, along with our district mission, that each student is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as a citizen in a global community, remain our North Star. We are all in this together, our entire Columbus community. We will get through this as one community as we navigate these challenges, remaining committed to the students and staff and families of CCS. Thank you. And one more reminder for all of our families, certainly on a lighter note, I want to welcome all of our families back from Wellness Week. And today, and the start of our return, a snow day is the first Tuesday back. But today marks the first inclement weather closure of the school year, and I want to thank our outstanding staff members of our operations team who serve as the eyes and ears of our district. They are out before dawn, checking road conditions, monitoring temperatures, and making the tough calls that help keep our community safe. I believe they refer to themselves as the road warriors, and after today, I wholeheartedly agree. Thank you to all of our custodians who worked all day to clear our sidewalks, parking lots, and driveways this morning. I also want to thank our communications team for moving quickly to provide updates via social media, email, phone dialers, and text messages as early as possible this morning to help families plan their day with minimal disruption. To our families, today is a great reminder to double-check your contact information in the parent portal to make sure we have the most accurate details on file. If you did not receive a phone call, a text message, an email from us today, it means we don't have your correct information. Please help us so that we can make sure that we get these important, urgent updates to you, to your direct phone, email, as soon as possible. To our entire CCS team and our community, thank you all. We will continue to move forward together with purpose, clarity, and dedication to our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent, and thank you to the team. Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, thank you for the difficult decisions that you made tonight. We will be updating the forecast based on those resolutions. At the October meeting, we just had a blanket $50 million inserted. With the passage of these resolutions tonight, we will now be able to categorize those into the appropriate bucket on the forecast. And as we update that towards January for a February presentation, we will then have those categories appropriately labeled. So again, I know that was incredibly difficult tonight. As Dr. Chapman said, it's difficult, but we're working diligently to prioritize student instruction. So I thank you for your efforts on that.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Mr. Internal Auditor, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Nothing tonight.
Nothing to report. Well, glad to have you here with us, and thank you for all of your combined work and efforts and all that we do here in the district. Okay, we are going to move on to our consent agenda.
Sorry, we have item 8 is actually a notice of public hearing on reemployment.
Thank you. All right, so, Madam Vice President, would you read that?
Yes. Item 8.1, notice of public hearing on the reemployment of Diane Bowman. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 3309.345, the Columbus Board of Education gives notice that Diane Bowman, Secretary to the Treasurer, will retire from the Columbus City Schools effective January 31st, 2026, and is seeking reemployment with the Columbus City Schools as Secretary to the Treasurer effective February 2nd, 2026. The Board will hold a public hearing on January 6, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at 3700 South High Street, Columbus, Ohio, on the issue of Ms. Bowman's reemployment.
All right. Thank you, Madam Vice President. All right, we will move to the consent agenda, which is 9.1 to 24.4. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motioned and seconded. Mr. Treasurer, we will call.
Cole, can I just
Yes,
say-
please.
I just want to say there are a number of repairs in the Section 17 facilities management legislation, and these are really good opportunities to find long-term cost savings measures that are both energy efficient, that are long-term strategies toward climate mitigation and protecting ourselves from the very real impact of climate change, and also opportunities for us to save money moving forward. And so I'm hoping that this board, in a future board meeting, will take up the board policy around the Green Schools Initiative. But I also want to call out that these types of approvals are really key spots. I mean, just looking at 17.5, that is a $6.5 million investment into HVAC systems and making sure that we have energy efficient systems that are sustainable and that will last a very long time are things that we should be looking at every single time that we're making these massive investments. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
And I would just add for 14.1, we had a number of community members come from Avondale Elementary School to speak today, and their students as well, and to see our district and our board making the commitment to the facilities, I think is important, that we are showing that we are not only invested in their academic success, but we as a district are also invested in making sure that they have safe, modern, safe spaces where they can be educated. And so I want to thank our team, from our superintendent to our treasurer to all the people that work on making sure that we are continuing and building solid relationships with contractors, so we are maintaining our facilities. I think there was some time where we were not maintaining our facilities, and we are seeing a stronger commitment to maintaining them so we don't have to wait until the last minute to make those large investments. So thank you to our team for doing that due diligence.
And to our voters who made that really happen, because that's that PI that we passed in 2023. Yep.
All right. Thank you all. There's been motion and seconded. Can we call the roll?
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
With the exception of 22.2, yes. 22.2 is no.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes. Motion passes. All right. Thank you all for getting us back through what was a very tense reentry into the district after Wellness Week. But I think everybody got the rest that they needed to be able to do this work that we did today. That was very tough. I appreciate everyone's passion. I appreciate everyone's proaction and progressive thinking. I do. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. If all are in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.